Good morning, everybody. Are you ready for today's mastermind? We've got a packed house for you today. I am so excited, more excited about just getting to see everybody. Our mastermind is about sharing tips on how to become the best you. And we've got them from all walks of life coming on here to share what they have done that's made them successful and to bring you up to speed on new tips and trades and strategies, tools, whatever it is that's going to make you successful at becoming the best you. So while you're watching today, I want you to take notes because you know what? Note takers are money makers. And when you take notes, when you are taking notes from the pen, to the paper, that is the digital recording to the brain. It's a powerful, powerful way to memorize. That's why we take notes. That's why we take notes. Also, I wanted to remind you of a few upcoming things before we bring on Mr. Unstoppable himself. We have got a Safe in His Arms conference that is coming up June 9th and 10th, Kansas City. Go on over to comechangeyourlife.com. We'll run some commercials for that later, where lots of our speakers are coming in from out of town. And there he is. There's Mr. Unstoppable himself.
Hey, hey, hey. It is an unstoppable day. Can you hear me okay?
We can hear you.
Mic check, mic check. Can you hear me?
I can hear you.
Beautiful,
Can you hear me?
beautiful,
You're still a little
beautiful.
frozen.
Yeah, it seems like there's still a little bit of a delay, but we're going to still try and play. We want to welcome everybody to the DBY Masterclass, our ongoing monthly series that we have here, bringing some of the best and the brightest from around the country and around the world into your living room, dining room, kitchen, or wherever you may be so that you can become the best version of you. Now, before we get started, just want to salute and a thank you to all of our armed services for all the things that they've done on this as we celebrate this Memorial Day weekend, remembering all of those who have served and have fought for our freedoms so that we can continue to become the best versions of ourselves. We've got a great first speaker ahead of us. So Brenda, are you ready for us to get started?
I'm ready. He's got a tight schedule, so we need to bring him up and let him get started because he is a huge goal setter. He likes to set those goals.
All right. Well, let's welcome to the stage none other than our first speaker for the day, Mr. Brandon Shank. Brandon, can you hear us?
I can hear you well.
Mike, great. This is none other than our own PBS, our performance branding specialist. So let's give it up for him as he's going to talk to us today about goal setting. Brandon, the mic is yours.
Thank you. I want to say thank you and good morning to everybody. I'm super thankful and honored to be able to spend some time with everybody this morning. I was just given the opportunity by Brenda. She reached out not very long ago that I was going to be able to do this. So I just love being around other like-minded people, the future movers and shakers of the world. And so for me, this was important because I wanted to start sharing my message. For those of you that do not know who I am, my name is Brandon Shank. I'm originally from Buffalo, New York, and I currently reside in Kansas City, Missouri. I'm a business owner. I own two businesses. I own Legacy Tint and Audio, and I also own Renegade Distributions. I'm also a new car manager at a local car dealership. And so I always want to go back to the beginning of kind of my story. In 2016, I was broke. I was depressed. I was recently divorced, and I was living in a trailer with my two daughters. That was a really hard time in my life. There was a lot of times that I was missing meals and missing bills. And so I got to the point where, the breaking point, I guess, for me was I came home one night and there was a shut-off notice on the door, and it was for my power. I failed to make the electric bill. And so I've got some just real mental imagery that I guess is burned in my mind of, trying to put a toddler to sleep, and she's, got tears streaming down her face, and she's crying to me, and she's just telling me like, "Daddy, I'm hot." Like for me, like that was really tough. And I was, having to just look at her and, yeah, daddy knows, like daddy knows, daddy's going to fix it. And I'm sorry. And so what I didn't realize was that was kind of like I was on the brink of complete failure, but really that's where I got my fire. And so I went outside and I just bawled to God. I just cried and I just asked, please, like, if you want me to learn something, if you're trying to teach me something, that's fine. But like, don't let my children suffer. And I was completely open to whatever God wanted me to do. And I made a commitment that like, starting at that point, I was going to make some radical changes in my life, whatever that may need to be. I just wanted to be able to change my life, mainly for my daughter's sake. So at that point, I ended up moving home back to my parents' basement so I could get a second job. I worked at a gas station overnight where I listened to a lot of personal development. I started seeking out some mentorship and just started working on my future. For me, it took a lot of hard work. There was a lot of risk that was involved. There was a lot of faith was involved, developing discipline, but I'm really proud and honored that God had given me the opportunity that just 6 years later, I was making over $500,000 a year personally, traveling all over the world. I get to, I've spent a couple different weeks over in Hawaii and 5-star resorts in California and beautiful places, had the opportunity to buy like a dream home. I send my now 3 daughters to an amazing private school. Last year I gave over, a couple tens of thousands of dollars to my church, which was really awesome for me. Be able to, take part in giving to other charities and causes that were important to me. I actually have the opportunity to pay for somebody's rent in the month of August in the same trailer park that I had my power turned off because it's a really, pivotal time for me. Frankly, I even got to buy my mom a new $50,000 car just because I could, which was really awesome. And I don't say any of that because I'm trying to impress you, but I want to impress upon you that what I'm going to go over today can radically change your life the same way that it changed mine. I talked to Brenda before I did this, and I was just kind of asking her what was the audience that I was going to be speaking to, and she said that it was a lot of employed people and people working a couple jobs, really motivated people. And so I didn't want to talk about motivation this morning. I just wanted to talk about like a technical, applicable, life-changing strategy revolving around goal setting that I think can change your life. So I've got 5 bullet points that I was going to go over this morning. So I'd say like, get your notebooks ready and be prepared, and just listen for the next 15 minutes as I really want to dive in and give you something that you can apply today. So to start, I always like to give the background on goal setting a little bit. For me, I think goal setting is so crucial. How I explain it to all of my teams is if there was 2 people and I was to give them a picture, just a really nice little picture, and it had the front of a house on it, a beautiful home, multi-million-dollar mansion, and you're just staring at this picture and you can see maybe a dream car sitting in the driveway. And I tell you, hey, there's $100 million inside of this house. And there's a whole bunch of jewels and TV. I mean, it's just all sorts of things that people would want. And the best news is the door is unlocked and you can have it. It's free to you. All you have to do is go there. You just got to find it. Well, the first person, he might just take off, right? And he might drive, and he's excited. He's fired up. This is a guy that I can drive all through the night. It don't matter. I just want to get there. And that's great. But unfortunately, he's probably not going to, right? If all you have is the picture of the front of the house, you've got almost virtually no shot of getting there because you don't know how to get there. The second guy, let's say that I give them the address and they can just punch it into their GPS. Well, now they could literally get turn-by-turn directions, and it could be really far away. And maybe it's 17, 18, 24 hours away. It doesn't matter. Like, they'll eventually get there because they have the directions. And I think a lot of people look at their goal setting. It's a lot like the first person. They may have a mental picture of what they want in life, and they could even be really excited, really hardworking people, but it doesn't matter if you don't have the path and the directions to get there. So in my opinion, effective goal setting, it unlocks the roadmap to getting remarkable results. It is the game changer. So I'm going to go ahead. I'm going to dive in. Like I said, I've got 5 points that I'm going to go over this morning. The first thing that you have to do is you have to visualize and think about the future. So I break my life down into 7 areas. I've got financial, spiritual, physical, mental, family, social, and contribution, and career and passion. Those are my 7 areas that I look at my life. And I will spend 2 to 3 hours just sitting down at the beginning of the year or whenever it might be. And I think about in each specific area, what type of person do I want to be 1 year from now? I think about, how much money do I want to make, or how many daddy-daughter dates do I want to have? How many, how much do I want to bench press? What do I want to look like physically? How many books do I want to read? I think about these things. And I think it's really important to plant these seeds of where you're trying to end up, because as Napoleon Hill says it, right? The man, or the mind of man, what it can conceive and believe, it can achieve. So I'm the same way. I think there's a ton of stuff out there about visualization. I think you should go look at it on the internet. I'm a big believer in it myself. Even Oprah, she says that, you should create think about the grandest, highest version of your life, because what you become what you believe. So that's step one. You got to think about it. You got to visualize the future of what that's going to be. Step two, you got to write it down and be specific. So I have a lot of 3-ring binders at my house that have page protected pages that have all of my goals in it. And I write these things down because that gives me the direction of where I'm going to go. Right. And you can't just write down, it's got to be specific. You can't just write down like, oh, well, I want to make more money this year. I want to, lose weight. The goals can't be like that, because your mind doesn't operate like that. You need to be able to identify exactly what you're trying to accomplish. If you don't give yourself a specific goal, it allows you to buy the excuses that you're going to give yourself when it gets hard. You want a definitive goal so you can say, I hit it or I didn't. Your goals should look more like, oh, I want to read 12 books this year, or I want to lose 100 pounds and be at 12% body fat. I mean, make them specific. The other part of this is when you make them specific and you write these goals down, you become accountable to yourself, because it's a whole lot harder to compromise your goals if you have to scratch out your old ones, right? And actually, I heard something that I really liked. Somebody said that our self-confidence is based on our ability to keep our own promises. And I think that that's where, goal setting, you don't want to scratch these things out. You put them in stone. You say, hey, I want to go ahead and I'm going to do this. A perfect example of this would actually be the speaking career side of this. I want to get into speaking. In 2016, I was already, doing affirmations. I've been a believer in affirmations for a long time. So in 2016, while I was living in this trailer, I'm talking about how I want to be a speaker who speaks in front of tens of thousands of people. And I do, I'm an international trainer. I start talking about these things. And up to this point, I really hadn't done anything with it. I've been really busy in some other areas, and I've had some success in other areas, but I haven't done anything speaking wise. So at the beginning of this year, I said, either I'm going to stop saying that I'm going to do this, or I'm going to put some action behind it. And so that's exactly what I did. I wrote this goal down. So I never wrote the goal down before, and nothing ever happened. I wrote the goal down this year, and then the doors started to open. I started to share with a friend, hey, I think I'm going to go ahead. I'm going to get into speaking, or I'm going to go ahead and get into speaking. And he's like, I know a friend named Brenda. You should talk to her. And the doors just started to open. I got an opportunity to go back to my school. I got an opportunity to, do this. I've got an opportunity to do multiple speaking events, and it's starting to build. And I got to take their class, which was a phenomenal class. And it's like, that doesn't happen if you don't write the goals down, because you just allow yourself to have time pass you by, and pass you by. So the third step, you have to break your goals down, right? Reverse engineer the goals. So for me, I run my life like a business. I own 2 businesses. I work for another one. We have forecast. We talk about what are we going to do in this year? And then we take what are we going to do in this year, and we break it down into what are we going to do in this quarter? What are we going to do this month? What are we going to do this week? I'm to the point where I break my life down, not even just to the day, but I break my life into thirds. I'm really anal about how am I going to use my time. And so whenever it comes to breaking these goals down, when you start setting all these goals and you start writing down all of these goals that you want to do this year, and you're going to try to tackle things that you may not have done before, right? I want to make $100,000 a year this year, and you may never have made $100,000. And I want to lose 100 pounds, and I want to read 12 books, and I want to do this, and I want to do that. It can become very overwhelming. If you write all those things down, it will become overwhelming. But it's not. Once you say, okay, well, I want to be at the end of the year, that's where I want to be. See, some goals you're going to be able to break out over the entire year. You're going to work on it all year. And that would be, say you want to lose 100 pounds, right? you're going to work on that all year. You can break it down into, well, how much do I need to lose in a quarter? Well, that'd be 25 pounds. No big deal. Like that still sounds like a lot, but you can break it down even farther than that, right? Break it down into, well, that's like a little over 8 pounds a month. And then we got 4 weeks in a month at least. So you go ahead and break it down. Now we're down to 2 pounds a week. And I promise you, if you're 100 pounds overweight, you can, whether it's through exercise or, through dieting, you can find a way to lose 2 pounds a week. So it makes it a lot more manageable. Or maybe your goal is like a lifestyle change and a habit you want to make. Personally, for me, I wanted to add taking ice baths. So I take ice baths every single morning now. I didn't have to start that habit January 1st. I just knew at the end of the year, I wanted that to be a habit for myself. Well, if I tackle all these new habits in the beginning of the year, once again, I'm probably going to burn myself out. I'm not going to be able to take on all these new things because I'm just not used to it. I don't have the time for it. So what I do is I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to work other habits into my life. And once they become routine, then I can continue to add more. So I chose that, by the second quarter, I want to go ahead and start doing the ice baths. So I didn't mess with the ice baths at all the way up until May. And now I take ice baths every single day. And so by breaking these goals down, it allows me to be able to handle more. I bring in more into my day. I can adapt to having other, goals that may have been brought into my life earlier in the year. Another part of this is going to be when you're breaking down your goals, it almost serves as a reset, right? Because if I'm breaking my goals down and I'm looking at things on a weekly basis, right, it allows me to say, hey, this week I'm going to need to make some adjustments. I'm going to go ahead and you stay on this path, right? You're staying on the path of where you're trying to go. So you got to make sure that you're breaking down the goals. Super important. Step 4, the power list, execution over everything. So I picked this really simple thing up from a guy named Andy Frisella. If you guys don't know who Andy is an entrepreneur. He's a phenomenal speaker. He's a guy that has grown several companies from 0 to $100 million plus. The guy's a big deal. And so I learned this from him, just through a podcast that he had. And honestly, this is probably the one thing that has changed my life a ton. So what I do is I take a blank piece of paper. I just use notebook paper. It doesn't really cost you anything to do this. And I break it into 8 sections. And I label each section, a day of the week. The 8th section is just going to be a recap for the week. And then every day before I do anything, I start by making my power list. What this power list is it's like a to-do list, except it only has 5 spots. These 5 spots are going to be the 5 most critical things that you can do during the day that are going to propel you closer to your goal. So these are like the 5 most crucial things that you can do. And when you do that, I can relate to a lot of people in the fact of we probably have plenty of days where you feel like you're run really thin. A lot of things pop up. They need your attention. A lot of fires that need to be put out, right? And so there's a lot of people that go all day long. And then when they go home, they're like, man, I was so busy today and I felt like I got absolutely nothing done. I used to feel the same way. That's because we were in a reactive state all day long. Like you're just trying to react to the problems that are coming up. You're constantly trying to fix things. What the power list does is it lets you stay in a proactive state. So you're moving with purpose is all you're really doing. Sure, you're still going to have to put your fires out through the day, but instead of just floating through the day afterwards, like, from one fire and then you're kind of floating to the next fire, like you're moving with purpose because you say, okay, I'm done with this one. I've taken care of this issue. Now back to my power list. What do I need to get done? And you work on that until the next thing may come up. And so I think that that's a big part that a lot of people struggle with is they don't move with purpose throughout the day. They see and they have goals, but they don't realize how they can effectively work on these every single day. Now, the flip side of the power list, which is really nice, is it's only 5 tasks, right? So if you get 5 things done and you get it done at 2:00 in the afternoon, that's great. You can go ahead and you can either relax for the second half of your day or you can do other productive things, but it doesn't matter because you got your 5 things done. And this is built to make people consistent. There's a lot of people that they get really motivated for one day and then they make a 26 thing to-do list. And even if they get them all done, most likely they won't. But even if they do get them all done, they're burnt out for like 3 days. There's no shot that they're going to be able to hop back on there and go, okay, I'm going to just do 26 things, more tomorrow. It doesn't work like that. But if you do 5 things consistently, then you're going to be able to build some momentum. An example of when I started using the power list in 2018, an example of the power list was, I was looking at it the other day because I save all my power list. But an example of it was I wanted to make 100 phone calls or sell 2 cars. I also wanted to read 10 pages and listen to 30 minutes of personal development. I wanted to update my Facebook ads because I was promoting myself. I wanted to update my finances, and I wanted to eat healthy and work out, right? If I did all 5 of those things, that day was a win. If I did 4 out of those 5 things, that day was a loss. It's 5 things. So there are no excuses. Like, it's either you get them all 5 done and you win, or you don't and you lose. And so some days maybe, I might be done at 2:00 in the afternoon, and that's great. There's other days that to get these 5 things done, it might take me till midnight or 1 because there were so many distractions that came up throughout the day. But it doesn't matter. I just want to stay on task and get these 5 things done. So the power list is like super crucial for being able to do that. And so then the last step is going to be review your wins and losses. I look at every day, I review my day, and I'm going to say, okay, did I get my 5 things done or not? Wins or losses. Then I look at it from a week perspective, right? I say, did I win at least 4 out of 7 days this week? If I did, it's a win, right? Because I've progressed forward. Now, 4 out of 7, in my opinion, is weak. So I set a minimum standard of 5 of 7 for myself, right? I want to be winning more than I'm losing. And then I take that and I apply it to, did I win the month? Did I end up winning the quarter? Because I see how I'm just trying to stack these wins, right? And there is something to that. When you're getting several wins in a row, even if it's on a daily basis, what ends up happening is you start to gain this new sense of confidence because you know that you're inching towards your goals every single day. And if you have a loss, it's okay. You just get back on track. The very next day, okay, I got to get my 5 things done because you want to win the week, right? And so I think the best thing about reviewing the process as well is you get to track your progress, right? So if let's say that your goal is to lose 100 pounds in a year, and you need to be losing 2 pounds a week. If you have a week where you actually end up putting on a pound instead of losing your 2 pounds, it's great for you to be able to see that and be able to measure that and go, okay, now I know I need to make an adjustment for this next week or maybe the next couple weeks, right? Because I've got to push a little bit harder to get back on track, which is a whole lot better than the alternative that most people take, which is, oh, it's October. I'm still 75 pounds away from my goal. It's too far away. I'm just going to throw it away, right? So being able to track your goals and be able to make all these little small adjustments will be really, really impactful for you. And so not only is that an important part, I'm just going to kind of wrap it up here because those are the 5 things, right? So once again, reviewing these 5 things, it's very simple, but to be honest, it's worked really well for me. I know that there's a lot of people that I look for things like this, and there's nothing that I found that is actually better than this, right? So for me, the things that I saw are the 5 things, is going to be visualize the future, write down the goals, be specific, reverse engineer the goals, use the power list to execute every day, and review these. In 2017, I didn't have the power list. I was doing a job that was paid off of results, but I didn't have the power list. I made $40,000, most money I'd ever made in my life. 2018, I won 30 weeks and lost 22. I made $80,000. So I doubled my income. 2019, I fell off track and I actually lost more weeks than I won and my income went backwards. I made $70,000. 2020, I was really locked in. I began the year by winning 22 weeks and lost my first week. I was really locked in. I made $256,000 that year. 2021 rolls around. I won 46 weeks. So I won a lot of the weeks, and I made $366,000. And then 2022, I ended up winning 44 weeks, and I made over $500,000. So in a 5-year span of using this system, I went from making $40,000 a year to I was making over $40,000 a month. So you can fine tune these systems and you can make it a little bit more applicable maybe for your life, or you can make it, you can take that system and apply it to your level of intensity. There's all sorts of things you can do to fine tune it. But just this baseline of the 5 steps will give you a competitive advantage over most people. So I want to just say thank you for having me on here, and I want to see you guys attack your goals. Thank you.
That was powerful, Brandon. Love the 5 steps. Love the fact that you brought up that you can also go backwards. Everybody always talks about moving forward, but sometimes you have to go backwards because then you reevaluate where you are and it makes you want to even move forward stronger because you don't want to keep going backwards, right? But we all have those moments where we go backwards.
Yes.
Absolutely. I think it was a great presentation. And the big takeaway for me is your last point: review your wins and your losses. And I've learned over time that we don't talk about losses. It's not that you lost, it's what you learned from that. And so reviewing your wins and your learnings, and your close was really powerful because you took us through how you actually applied it into your own life and how it worked for you, or what you learned from the things that you were measuring. And we believe that here in this world, especially the world of speakers and influencers, that what gets measured gets managed. You can't manage it if you don't know what the numbers are. So thank you for being vulnerable enough to tell us how it's been working for you in your own life, because we know if it can work for Brandon Shank, it can work for anyone else. So thank you so much, Brandon. Brandon is our PBS, our performance-based specialist here at the BTBY Masterclass. And I know you've got a lot of people that you're about to work with today to help them improve their performance. So we're going to let you get to that. But thank you for taking some time out to be here on the BTBY Presents Monthly Mastermind, Brandon. Thank you so much.
Thank you for having me. Appreciate it.
All righty, that was Brandon Shank.
We're going to have to put a check in the mail for him for becoming the best you speaker class.
Absolutely. And as he said, he's not afraid to reverse engineer what it is he needs to do to get his goals set. And he taught you some very simple ways that you can do to do that in your own life. So we appreciate Brandon for sharing that information with us. Again, this is what you get when you hang out with us each and every month at the BTBY Becoming the Best You Monthly Mastermind. So Brenda, are you ready to go on to our next speaker?
I am. Usually Brent Kessler fills this spot, but he has set his business up so that he can duplicate it, which is a big deal. If you can't duplicate things, look at McDonald's with their duplication process, and look at all the franchises that came out afterwards trying to be McDonald's. Brent has found a way to duplicate his business. So when he can't be at a speaking engagement, he has people who can fill in. So with that, when we first started working with him, we had his daughter that was part of the bio and stuff if he couldn't make it. And then he gave us this next speaker, and I'll let you go ahead and talk about that.
Right. Yeah. So it's a beautiful thing to be able to franchise what you do. And, Brent Kessler is our money multiplier. And he's not only talks the talk, he walks the walk. He's multiplying money masters across the country and across the world. And one of those is someone who loves to travel. And he would love to be your next keynote speaker talking about real estate investing. So if you've got a meetup coming up, you definitely want to stick and stay and listen to what this gentleman has to say to help you with your real estate. He's the co-founder of the Banking Bros and expert money mentor. His name is Jonah Dew, and Jonah knows all about business owners and helping them cash flow and increase their cash flow each and every month. What's a banking policy if you don't know how to do that? And Jonah describes these answers for you and how to help you increase your cash flow. That means taking charge to your business and to gain the real estate investment needs that you can get only supplied by Jonah. It's a win-win for you, and it's a no-brainer that you're here today listening to what this powerful gentleman has to say. So we are going to welcome to the stage none other than the owner of the Banking Bros, and reach him at bankingbros.com. It is Jonah Do. Jonah, can you hear us?
I can. Good morning. Can you hear me?
Yes. Good morning.
Cool.
Good morning. We hear you loud and clear. Thank you so much for being with us here on the BTBY Monthly Mastermind Series. We know you've got some great information that you want to share with our audience today. So we're going to turn the mic over to you. And let's listen, everybody, to the Banking Bros expert, Jonah Do.
Yeah, well, I appreciate that. Thank you. Thank you for the introduction this morning. I'm excited to share a few things with everyone watching and listening. So before I jump into it, let me tell you guys a little bit about me so you know where I'm coming from and who I am. So again, my name's Jonah. I actually live in Greenville, South Carolina right now with my wife and 3 little kids. I got a 5-year-old boy, a 2-year-old little girl, and I've got a month and a day actually, as of today. So we are busy over here taking care of all the kiddos. But the reason I'm coming to this Saturday morning, this mastermind, is actually to share with you something that I is real dear to my heart, real close to what I love to do. And that's talking just a little bit about money. So I got to give you a little bit of a background on me before I jump into things. And that really is growing up. I don't know if anyone relates to this, but growing up in my house, we did not really chat about money at all. That's not what we talked about at the dinner table. You can see a bunch of this side, bunch of basketball stuff behind me and the Lakers. That's kind of what we talked about. My family's from Southern California. That's what we chatted about. That's what we watched at dinner or after dinner. That's what we did. So that's what I still love to do this day. But money was not a topic of discussion. It was not happening. So as I got older, I started listening to a few people who had really popular voices. You've heard of these folks before, the Dave Ramseys, the Susie Ormans. I started listening to that and I was intrigued. All right. I was intrigued. I started to kind of like, oh, what are they always talking about? It seems like a lot of people have a lot more money than I've got, and they're doing a bunch of stuff with money that I don't understand. And so I've got to pay attention. I've got to figure out what's going on, right? And so I did. I started to read everything. I started to watch everything. I started to listen to everybody. And I started to realize that there were a few things that we were being taught and told about money that just didn't make a bunch of sense. Again, originally when I heard them, I was like, yeah, this is good. This is good information. So for instance, the Dave Ramsey thing, he's real big on paying off debt. I'm sure everybody's heard that. I totally did that. Let's pay off debt. Let's work 1, 2, 3 jobs. Let's sell a bunch of stuff. Let's debt snowball. Let's do all this stuff. I'm with it. But then he started talking about investments and strategy. And I started to realize, well, that's a little bit different from what some of the other people on the internet are saying and some of the other books that I was reading. And I've got to get to the bottom of this. And that's really when I was introduced to Brent Kessler, as Brenda just mentioned. That's when I was introduced to him. And he told me the thing that I was missing was understanding banking. And that was really weird for me to hear, because I thought to myself, I'm pretty sure I do understand banks. Like, I have a debit card in my pocket. I've been using banks for forever. I think I know how banks work. And he said, nope, you're sure you know how a bank works, like the place on the corner, but you're not understanding banking, the action of banking, and how powerful that is. And so what I want to do for you guys this morning in just a few short minutes is introduce that concept of banking that he told me about, that I was completely backward on and had a bunch of misinformation on as we jump into things. So I'm actually got a few slides I want to click through this morning. So I'm going to share my screen here and we'll jump into it. And me just a sec. And I think we've got it. Okay, hopefully you guys can see that. If you cannot see it, please let me know. But what I want to do is walk through a few.
Say it one more time. We got you up there on screen, so we see your
I love it.
slides.
I love it. You get make it easy. Okay, cool. So this is our save and spend system presentation. What we want to teach you, and what I want to teach you, is actually really two things this morning. It's one of them is how to save money and how to spend money at the exact same time. At the exact same time. To prove it to you, at the end of my slideshow, I'll ask you again if we did it. All right. Are we saving money? Are we spending money at the same time? And the other one, the second thing that I think is really cool is how to purchase something. So what I mean is take a few dollars, whatever you've got, you give it to someone because you want to buy something. It doesn't matter what it is. So you get that thing, they have the money, but then the money comes back to you. So how to get all the money back on your upcoming purchases. Again, I know it sounds a little crazy, but at the end of the presentation, I'll ask you if that is what happened, if that's what we did. So that's what I want to walk you through, those two ideas today. All this presentation is all about your money, all about finance, and all about banking, and a little bit of the misinformation that maybe we've come into. Maybe you're like me. Maybe you've heard these things as we go, and we're going to kind of dissect that just a little bit. So before we jump into it, we've got to define money a little bit. So normally when I've got a live studio audience, I ask everybody, type it in, define money for me. I know we've got a chat box going over here. So I'd love for you, if you've got a definition, if you're with me here this morning, if you're thinking, oh, I think I know how to define money, how would you define it? I've heard things like, oh, money's just a currency. Money's just paper. Money's just this, that. I've heard a bunch of stuff. The way that I normally like to define money is that money is a means of exchange. That's what it is. It's a means of exchange. See, here's what I mean. We don't actually want the paper. The paper's not super important to us. It's the stuff that we can get with the paper that we want. Does this make sense? You got a bunch of this paper sitting at your house, but you cannot use it. Not helpful. But if I've got a bunch or a little bit of the paper and I can trade it for the cell phone, I can trade it for the car. I can trade the paper for the shirts. I can trade the paper for the house. That's actually what we want. So that's what money is, and that's what it's good for, actually trading it for the things that we want and need. I personally even believe that once you have enough money that you can trade for the things that you want and need, I bet that a lot of us would give it away. We'd help those more unfortunate than us with the money that we have. Oscar Wilde's got a really good quote about this, and he says there's only one class that thinks more about money than the rich, and that is the poor. One time in a presentation like this on a Saturday morning, I had someone tell me the best way to help the poor. And I said, well, actually, I've never heard that quote. What is it? And they told me the best way to help the poor is actually not to become one. Can't help them if you're part of them. Right? And that's what we want to chat about today, how to keep more of our money, how to save it, how to spend it at the same time. Before I jump into the information, I want everyone to know that the talk that I'm going to give you this morning and the information that I'm deliberating to you, I did not make up. Brent Kessler, my mentor, did not make up. It was actually discovered by this gentleman on your screen. His name was R. Nelson Nash. He wrote this book, Becoming Your Own Banker. I highly, highly, highly recommend that you get this book. Okay. If you haven't read it already, I definitely recommend you add it to your wealth building library. You can find it on Amazon. It's about $20. This is exactly what it looks like when it shows up in your mailbox. Paperback book. It's 92 pages. You can read it in a weekend. I've had many of folks do that. I highly, highly recommend that you read this book. This is where all the information is coming from today. Okay, before we get into it, I've got a little bit of a misclassification pop quiz. I want to have some fun with you guys this morning. I want to see if you guys know the answers to these questions, okay? Like I mentioned to you, when I was discovering, when I was reading and watching and trying to figure out finance and money, one of the things that I discovered is that there was a lot of misinformation out there about it. And I realized that a lot of things are misclassified. What I mean by that is we might think a certain way about a topic, and the only reason that we do think a certain way about that topic is because someone else gave us that information that was already misclassified for them. So here's what I want to do. I want to ask 5 questions. I've got the question and the answer popping up, so you will absolutely be able to figure these out. But I want to see if other things were misclassified for you guys. So the first question that I've got is, how long was the 100 Years' War? So here's what I'm trying to help you guys understand. They've classified this war as 100 years. So if you're thinking the way that I'm thinking, the 100 Years' War is probably 100 years, right? Why would they call a war that only lasted 50 years the 100 Years' War? That wouldn't make sense. Why would they call a war that goes 200 years 100 years? That wouldn't make sense, right? But in reality, this war was 116 years long. So the 100 Years' War was 116 years. That seems like a little bit of a misclassification to me, right? It seems like you could probably trick somebody into thinking that the 100 Years' War was 100 years based on how you classified this, based on how you named it, right? What about this question? What country is known for making Panama hats? Does anybody know? Again, looking at the question, you might think, well, Panama, of course. Why in the world would they call it a Panama hat if they're not made in Panama? But in reality, these hats are actually made in Ecuador. Again, in my opinion, a little bit of a misclassification here based on how they named and classified this hat, right? What about this question? From what animal do we get catgut? Now, sometimes folks don't know what catgut is. So if you don't know what catgut is, they use it to make the tennis racket string. It's made out of catgut, and sometimes they put it in some candies. It's like I don't know how to describe it well. It's like a nougat or like a caramel type substance that they put in candies. But the reality of it is, what animal do we get catgut? It's called catgut. Why in the world would we think it comes from any animal other than cats? But in reality, it comes from sheep and horse. So very interesting. What about this? Camel hairbrushes are made of, you think camels, right? I would think camels, but it's actually squirrel fur. And this last one, what color is the black box on a commercial airplane? Stay with me now. They're calling it a black box. I've got to assume that the color is black, but in reality, it's actually orange. Now, I don't know about you guys, but this quiz, this simple, fun thing to get us started here is really just a representation of, are we okay with agreeing with me that there are some things that we might think to be true that are just misclassified? It's no wrongdoing on our part. It's the folks who classified them or named them way back when, and they're leading us down a path to believe something that's just not true. Right? And if it's true about some of these questions, these fun questions that we're having this morning, maybe it's true about some things that we think about our money, right? Maybe it's true. Maybe there's a few things that are misclassified, which is leading us to believe something or think something to be true that's just not true. So again, a little bit about me. I started learning about this banking thing just about, I guess it was 6 years ago now, 2017. And my mind was completely changed, completely blown when I learned about it. Because again, I thought to myself, I know about banks. I know how banks work. I know about money. I know about finance. I've read things. I've watched things. I know. And I just didn't realize that some of the information that I had or believed to be true was just misclassified. And because it was misclassified, it was hurting me and hurting me big time. And to prove it to you, I got a few more examples before we jump into the meat of this presentation. So here's one. It's a car purchase example. In this example, I want you guys to envision yourself having $25,000 in a conventional, regular old bank account. Okay. For today, this morning, since we're obviously not at a bank, we're just at our homes, I'll let you guys be the depositors. You can put the money in the bank and I'll be the banker. Okay. We'll just make it up. I'll be the banker. You've deposited $25,000 into my bank. Okay. Now, at my bank, I offer an interest rate of 4%. And I understand that there's almost no banks out here that are offering 4%. It's basically like 0.004, but I get it. At my bank, it's 4%. I don't have a bunch of branches or overhead. I like you guys. It's Saturday morning. We're making it up 4%. Okay. So you have that money in the bank and you are interested in buying a new vehicle. So your plan is actually just to go into the bank to withdraw your $25,000 to go down to the car dealership to make your purchase one time, one payment, buy the car, go home. So you walk into the bank, you walk to the teller, you say, hey, I'd like to withdraw the 25,000 bucks. And I overhear you. Reminder, I'm the banker, so I probably got an office in the corner or something like that. And so I hear you and I say, hey, good to see you. Are you closing your bank account? And you say, no, I'm not closing my bank account. I just want to make a withdrawal one time so I can go buy the car. I don't want like interest and payments. I didn't want to finance and all that stuff. I just want to buy it. I want to be done. I say, cool, no worries. But you should leave your money there. You should let me loan you the money. Now that shouldn't surprise you. If I'm a banker, that's what business I'm in, right? I've got to offer you that loan. And you're nice, you're kind, and you say, well, I appreciate you saying that you'll loan me the money, but I'm really not interested in the payments. I don't want the payments. I don't want the interest. I just want to take my money and buy the car. And I say, no, let me loan you the money. Leave your money in the bank. I'll loan you $25,000. And you say, okay, I'll humor you. If you were to loan me $25,000, what's the interest rate, right? That's the question everyone would ask. And I tell you that the interest rate is 6%. 6%. And I tell you in the bank to your face, I say, don't worry, you'll come out on top. When this deal's over, you'll come out on top. So the question I have for you this morning was, would anyone take that deal? Would anyone on the call tell me that I was being honest with you? I'm being an honest banker. I'm being truthful. Yes, you'll come out on top. That's a great deal. You should take it. Now, generally, almost everyone's going to tell me no chance. If you're earning 4% at the bank, but they're going to charge you 6%, you're losing 2%. How in the world would that make any sense? How would you win? You're not being honest. You're not going to win. Don't take the deal. Just withdraw the money like normal and go get the car. But what if I told you this morning that I, being the banker, or the scenario that I've just gave you is actually true? The banker or myself was telling you the truth, but it's not the way that we're taught to think about money. Again, generally speaking, most people see 4% I'm earning, 6% I'm paying, and then they say, no, it doesn't work. I'm losing 2%. But the banker was telling you the truth. To prove it to you, we've got the calculators up on the screen. That's my slide. And we'll just do the math so I can show it to you. Okay. So here's how this works. In order for us to do the math, we have to think of a term on how long that this car note was going to be outstanding. So generally, cars are, again, you can do all sorts of terms, but a pretty common car term is 5 years or 60 months. So if you take 60 months at $25,000 owed at 6%, that'll give you a monthly payment of $483.32. Well, if you take that $483.32 and you times it by 60, you'll get a future value of $28,999. Or I'm an easy math guy, so I'm just going to round to 29,000 bucks. So here's what happened. You pay 25,000 for the car. You pay $4,000 to me, the banker, for interest, right? You guys know how this works. But at the same time, if you would have left your money sitting in the savings account at the bank for the same 60 months, you would have finished with $30,525. That is almost $1,500. It's a little more than $1,500 more that is still in your pocket, even though you paid $4,000 to the banker or the finance company for the car. So you did come out on top. The banker was telling you the truth. I was telling you the truth in this example, but our brains lied to us. Our brains told us, no, that's not going to work. If I'm earning at 4, I'm paying at 6, I'm losing 2, but that's not what the math says. I'll give you a nice, easy way to understand this. Your savings account at the bank started at a balance of $25,000 and then was increasing. It did not go down. It was increasing, ascending month after month after month for 60 months. You finished with $30,525. Meanwhile, the car purchase started at $25,000 and was decreasing. Every time you made a payment, the balance, principal balance, got lower, right? So it's decreasing month after month after month. And as simple as I can put it, if you've got one balance that's increasing over time, the other balance that's decreasing over time, and they both started at the same number, which one's going to win? Right? It's easy if you think about it that way. Well, the one that's increasing, the one that's ascending, that's going to win over time. But again, that's not how our brains put the information together. And things like that, the misclassification of the way that money actually flows, is hurting us big time in everyday purchases. I've got one more example for us here. So on the screen now, I've got guaranteed values versus market values on the left-hand side here. And I've got a chart. It's got 4 different examples of a $10,000 contribution. In the very leftmost column, it's just time, years 1 through 10. It's a decade, okay? In the first column that's labeled guaranteed value, we've got 10,000 in there. And again, it's 4% guaranteed, 10 years running. And the next 3 columns, it's got the same $10,000. And instead of 4%, it's making 6%, 9 years out of 10. 9 years out of 10. But in one random year, there is an arbitrary loss. In the second column, it happens in the first year. The third column, it happens in the 5th year. And the last column, it happens in the 10th year. Okay? The question that I've got, and keep in mind, everyone watching, this is not actual market values. Okay? I didn't take the S&P 500. I just actually made these numbers up to prove my point. And the question that I've got to ask you is, which column would you take? If you had to take one, you've got to put $10,000 in. You've got to lock it up for 10 years. Which column would you actually take? 4% over the course of 10 years, or 6%, 9 years out of 10, 9 years out of 10, but 1 year there's going to be an arbitrary loss. There's going to be a loss. Year 1, year 5, year 10. Which one would you take? Now, before I answer the question, I want to make it clear. I think everybody on this call has heard things like put your money in the market. That's pretty common, right? I mean, that's what they tell us to do. Put your money in the market. I also think that probably everyone on this call would agree that sometimes the market goes up and sometimes the market goes down. Would you guys agree with that? I probably think so. And I probably also ask you, what about this question? I bet you and I don't actually know when it goes up and when it goes down. It just happens kind of all over the place, right? Maybe like year 1, year 5, or year 10. You don't know when it's actually going to go up. Okay, back to my question. Which column would you actually take? I think if you've got a second to look at it, I put the totals at the bottom of the columns for you. I think pretty much everyone who sees those totals would take the guaranteed value, 4%, all 10 years, because the total's higher. That's why I take it. $14,802. The total's higher. So that's why I want to take that one. And here's what's important. Let me ask you this question, if you guys can see this. Does it actually matter which year the loss happened in the other 3 columns? Does it matter if you lost money in year 5, year 1, or year 10? Or does the total after 10 years equal the exact same dollar amount? Now, here's where it gets tricky. Here's where it gets tricky. I bet that in real life, when you go to get drinks with your colleagues or your family after work, or you're going to get milk after church, I don't know what you're into, whatever you're doing, I bet that people in your life would make fun of you 9 years out of 10 if you chose an example like 4. Meanwhile, your friends and colleagues were making 6. I bet that after work, they'd tell you that you were dumb, right? They'd say, what are you doing? You're making 4, we're making 6. Come over here with us. They try to make you feel goofy. When in reality, again, having a chart like this where we could see it, you made the right decision, right? Isn't that funny? Isn't that funny about the way that we think, the way that our friends, family, colleagues, HR at works, whoever thinks about money, that they do that to us. Meanwhile, we made the right decision. Here's another thing that gets really fun. I'm going to actually unshare the screen for a second so we can come back to it. I want to ask you this question. I want to talk about, it's called the drawdown effect really quick, the drawdown effect. So I have a $100 bill here at my house, and here's what I want to ask you. If we've got $100 and we lose 10% of this $100, how much money do we have? How much money do we have? 10% of 100, right? $10, we'd go down to $90. Okay. So now we got $90 and we make 10% back. We make 10% back. How much money do we have? A lot of people answer that question and say 100 again. We lost 10, we made 10, we're back to 100. We had 100, we lost 10, we've got money, we make 10, we're back to 100. But the answer is actually 99. We don't have 100. See, here's what happened. We've got $100, we lose 10%, we've got $90. If we make 10%, we have a new principal balance. It's $90. 10% of $90 is $9. Therefore, we have 99. This is called the drawdown effect. What it's actually illustrating is that you have to make more than you lost in order to break even. More than you lost in order to break even. A lot of people miss that. I know a lot of people participating in plans, investments, retirement accounts, whatever it might be, that they've lost a significant amount of money over the last few years because of COVID and because of other things. And they think to themselves, oh, if I lost 20%, I just need to make 20 and I'll be back. No, you've got to make more than that to get back to where you were. And as a reminder, you've also lost time. You've also lost the time that it takes, right? Here's another thing that I find very, very interesting. Very, very, very interesting. It's all about averages. I want to put this in your head so you guys can think about this one, especially after this call, as you look at new opportunities and new things that you might want to do in the financial space, and look at how they're being advertised to you. Here's what I mean. I don't particularly know how this group came together this morning on Saturday. I don't particularly know that. I don't know if you've been connected with Brenda for forever, if you've got Becoming the Best You saved on all your links. I don't know. But here's what I do know. I know that they did not get on the internet or get on social or send out letters saying that every single person who makes this call and watches us this morning on Saturday makes 25% average on their money. I know they didn't say that. But here's my question. If they did say that, do you think we'd have a few more people on the call? Do you think we might have been able to pack it out, right? Maybe StreamYard saying, you've got too many. You got to upgrade your account if we said something like that. 25%. Now, keep in mind, I've given you two examples this morning. They've been 4%, right? 6%. So not that. Throw that out the window. 25%, right? I think we'd have a few more people who would be very, very interested in that. But here's what I want to ask you again. Let's use our same $100 bill here this morning. And I want to ask you something. We want to talk about averages really fast. So here's my question for you. Follow along at home if you can. Let's say we've got $100 and we lose 50% of our $100. How much money do we have? That's right. The answer is $50, right? Now, in the second year, let's say we make 100% on our $50. Great return. We make 100% on our $50. How much money do we have now? How much money do we have? We had $50. So if 100% return on that $50, we're back at 100. We're back at 100, right? I love it. Now, reminder, this is what we just talked about with the drawdown effect. You cannot lose 50%. Then make 50% and get back to where you were. You've got to make much more than you lost to get back. If you lose 50%, you have to make 100% just to get back where you were. Keep in mind, we've lost 2 years of time, but at least we're back where we were. Now, here's my question for you here this morning. What was the average? What was the average rate of return? So if you guys remember how to do averages, you take the two numbers that you have. So in this case, we have negative 50%, and positive 100. That's where our returns. We take those two numbers, we add them together. So we have negative 50. We want to add 100 to it. So that'll give us a positive 50. And then we divide by how many numbers we had, which is 2. So positive 50 divided by 2. What's our average? 25% average. 25%. That's what I just mentioned. But how much money did we start with and how much money did we end with? How much did we make? I think we started with the 100. We ended with the 100. We made $0. But our average was 25%. You guys with me this morning? I think that averages and the way that we think about them has been misclassified because we think that, if we're averaging 7%, I have heard this so much lately over the last few weeks and months, right? Everybody that I know that was participating in some sort of market function, up, down, left, right, lost a little bit of money over 2020, 2021, 2022. But I've heard things like, well, the stock market averages 7%, so keep your money there. But we just did averages. Does average actually mean that we make any money? No, it doesn't mean that, right? Because there could be losses associated. We just had a positive rate of return of 25% and made $0. Not to mention that we also lost the time. We lost the time, right? I think a little bit of the way we think about money has been misclassified when it comes to that. Averages is not the most important thing. I think that an actual return would probably be pretty helpful to you guys. Not an average return, an actual return. All right, I'm going to jump back into my slides. I've got one more thing to talk about, and then we'll get into the meat. I appreciate you guys here this morning. All right, there we go. I think we've got it back up. The next thing I want to chat about is just a few questions. I just want to get your brain working this morning. I want to get you thinking just a little bit here. And the first question is $1 worth more today or in the future? Is $1 worth more today or in the future? The correct answer to that is today. And if you're getting a little confused on that one, remember how many candy bars you could have bought with $1 when you were little, and the half of one that you can buy with $1 now, right? The dollar is actually the strongest it's ever going to be today. We've got inflation, we've got tax, we've got all sorts of stuff. The dollar is the strongest it's going to be today. What about this question? Are taxes going up or down? Are taxes going up or down? Now, I don't think that we are politicians or future, or we can tell the future here on this call, but I would probably think that you answered in your head that taxes are going up. And even if they're not going up, we're probably taxed on more things. We're probably taxed on more things. So I put question marks as we don't know, but I probably agree with you that even if they're not going up, they'll probably expand the categories to taxes on more things. And if you're familiar with anything financial, you'll actually realize that we are in a historically low tax bracket right now. It's actually super low compared to what it used to be in the 50s, 60s, and 70s. So I probably think the taxes are going up, although I put question marks, we don't know. What about this one? If you had a choice, would you rather pay your taxes on the seed, the small amount, or the harvest, the big amount? If you had a choice. I think most of you would take the seed, right? I want to pay now on the seed. I don't want to pay on the harvest. The harvest is supposed to be really big, right? That's what the seed's supposed to do for us. So I'd rather pay taxes now on the seed, and I'd agree with you. So here's my final question. Why in the world do we do things with money that we would never do with the stuff that money buys? And here's what I mean. We defined money earlier, and we said that it was just a means of exchange. I don't actually need the paper. I don't actually want the paper. I want the stuff that I can trade the paper for. I give the paper away, I get the shirt. I give the paper away, I get the car. I give the paper away, I get the house. I give the paper away, I get the food. That's what I want the money for. But we do stuff with the money that we would never actually do with the stuff that the money buys. Here's what I mean. Would you ever buy a car, let it sit in your driveway until you're 59 and a half and not drive it? I don't think so. That sounds a little bit ridiculous, but that's what we're doing with the money. That's what they told us to do with the money. Would you ever use your money and buy a house, right, and then never live in it? No, you'd never do that. Would you ever use your money and buy the shirt and never wear it? That's not what we do with the stuff that money buys, but yet that's what they told us to do with the money, and we believed them. What about this question? Does anyone on our call believe in compound interest? Okay. Einstein said compound interest was the eighth wonder of the world. I hope everybody's hand is up, or you're thinking that at home. Well, here's my second question. Can we name a business that uses compound interest? Now, generally, when I get to this point, people start throwing out a lot of businesses. They say banks, and they say insurance companies, and they say grocery stores, and they say everybody uses compound interest. Well, here's what I've got to tell you here this morning. I believe that there are institutions that pay compound interest, sure. There are institutions that charge compound interest, absolutely. We probably can name a bunch of those, right? But I don't believe there's any institution that actually uses compound interest the way that we've been taught it works. See, how they told us it works is that we take our money and we go sit it somewhere, and then it grows. But I have to ask you a question. Is that how money actually grows? Is that how it works? Can you put this $100 bill in a shoebox at your house, and then you come back to it in a year and there's like baby $50 bills running around? I don't think so. That's not the way that money works, right? How much money does your favorite grocery store make if all the groceries are compounding on the shelves? None. They don't make any. That's not how they make money, right? In order to make money, you have to move the money. You have to use it. Think about a bank now. If you write your name on this $100 bill, it's yours, right? I'll write Jonah right across it in big letters, and I go stick it in the bank. Can I come back in a month and get my same $100 bill out? What about in a week? What about in 48 hours? What about in an hour? Do they still have my bill? No, they moved it, right? They gave it to the next guy behind me in line for his loan, for his credit card, for his, house loan, for his car loan, whatever it might be. They move the money. That's how you make more. And they told us that we're supposed to let it sit, even though that's not what they're doing. Isn't that funny how they've classified compound interest? See, about 6 years ago, like I mentioned, I was told that I didn't understand banking. And this is what I'm going to dive into with you guys here this morning, how a bank actually works. And so what I want to do is I want to give the example again of maybe you depositing money into the bank. Here's $100,000 and you're going to put it into the bank. Now, again, I'll be the banker for you this morning. We'll make it nice and simple. And I'll offer 4% on your $100,000, 4%. So here's what I want to ask you at this juncture right now, with what you can see on the screen only, is the money that the bank now has an asset to them or a liability to them? Robert Kiyosaki defined these two terms really well. If you've heard of that name and you've heard of his most popular book, Rich Dad, Poor Dad, he said an asset, something that puts money in your pocket, and a liability is something that takes money out of your pocket. So all I'm asking is, the bank just received a deposit of 100 grand. Right now, is that money an asset to the bank or a liability to the bank? Well, the correct answer is a liability to the bank, because the bank owes you 4% on top of services, right? They got to print the debit cards and get employees in there and all sorts of stuff. The bank, that's a liability. That's going to take money out of the bank's pocket. So what does the bank do with the money once they have it in order to turn a liability into an asset? They loan it out, right? That's what that is the business of banks. That's the business that they're in. Anybody on this call gone to the bank and gotten a loan for a house, right? They take the money that's sitting in the bank and they loan it right back to the people who put it in there. But when they do that, they upcharge it. You guys see the numbers on the screen. They put a little honey on it, as I like to say, right? And you want to go buy the house, so you pay all that money you just got to the seller of the house. And then the seller of the house puts the money where? Right back in the bank. It could possibly even be the same day. It could possibly even be the same branch. Are you guys with me here? The bank loaned the money to you. You gave it to your new neighbor. Does this make sense? And he put it right back in the bank. Same day. Could be, right? And this is the second time that a bank just got a deposit. And deposits are liabilities to banks. So they do not let them sit there. They immediately loan it out. Maybe for something like a car. Anybody gone to the bank and got money for a car before? 8%, right? Put a little interest on it. Don't get hung up on those numbers. That's not important. But then you go to the car dealer and you buy the car and you give them the money, and the car dealer puts the money where? Right back in the banking system. Maybe not the same branch this time, right? But right back in the banking system. Third time the bank's got a deposit, so they've got to move it. Deposits are liabilities. They got to turn them into assets, so they loan money for a home remodel. You want to fix things up, fix the pool up, fix the kitchen counters up, right? Fix the backyard. You're going to pay a contractor to do that work. The contractor puts the money where? In the bank, right? What about debt consolidation, right? Maybe you want to use it to pay off some of those credit cards, right? Once you pay them off, the companies put the money where? Right back in the bank. Who looks like they were in charge of all the transactions in your town? The bank. Think about it. The bank's got a mortgage on every house on your street. The bank's got financing and paperwork on almost every car driving down the block. Who's in charge of the money where you live? It's the same place as the people in charge of the money where I live, the bank. Whose money did they use to do all the transactions? Yours and mine. The depositors. The important key here is it wasn't theirs. And who made all the money? The bank. Let's do the math on how much they made. If they promised you 4, but they did the house deal at 7, they would keep 3. No? They'd keep 3. They promised you 4, they did the house deal at 7, that's a difference of 3. What about if they promise you 4, but they do a car deal at 8? They'd keep 4. What about if they promise you 4 and do a home remodel at 9? They get 5. What about they promise you 4 and do credit cards at 12? They'd keep 8. Now, don't get hung up on the numbers, right? I put that credit card number in there as 12. I've seen some of these credit cards. They're a lot higher than 12. But the bank keeps everything. You get 4. That's what they give you. The bank keeps everything else. It's 3 plus 4 plus 5 plus 8. It's a total of 20. You got 4. The bank got 20 on your money. So the question that we have is, how much more did the bank make than you made? If you got 4 and they got 20, how much more did the bank make than you percentage-wise? Most people say 16. You're very close, but not really. It's 500%. 500% on the money that you left there. If I put real numbers to it, it'll make a lot of sense. You were to deposit $100,000 and the bank actually guaranteed you 4% interest, you would earn $4,000 at the end of the year. If they made 20%, they would get $20,000 at the end of the year. And I believe everyone on this call would tell me confidently that $20,000 is not 16% more than $4,000. It's 500%. It's 5x. They got 4, you got 20. That's 500%. Banks in your town, it does not matter which one, make between 400 and 1,300% on the money that you leave there each and every year. Any bank, it doesn't matter, small, big, medium, credit union, it does not matter. 400 and 1,300% on your money. And so the question I've got for you here is, all we want to do is be the bank. Then you can make the 500% on the stuff that you have to buy anyway. Stay with me here. Who bought the house, the car? Who did the remodel, paid off the bills? You did. Whose money was used? Your money, the depositors. The difference here is you weren't in the middle. You weren't the bank. And that's what they told me and taught me about 6 or 7 years ago. And it has completely revolutionized and changed my life. Becoming the bank. I want you to be very clear. I am not telling you to do anything different from what you're currently doing, except become the bank. I'm not saying work a bunch of extra hours. I'm not saying buy a bunch of stuff that you don't normally buy. I'm saying what we've been taught to do is lock our money up where we cannot access it or get to it until we're 59 and a half, 65 years old. That's what they taught us. That is not what the banks are doing. They did not lock their money up. We've been taught to give our money to someone else to manage. They know better than we do. They taught us that one indirectly by telling us that compound interest happens when you let it sit still. Meanwhile, that's not what they were doing, right? They taught us to take risks. Up, down, left, right. Did the bank take any risks making all that money? Very, very, very little, because they used your money to do it. And if you were too risky, they would have upped the interest rate. And some of you have cousins or brothers or sisters or whoever where they're so risky, the bank's not giving them the money in the first place, right? The bank takes very little risk, even though they taught us to take so much. All we want to do is be in the place of the bank. And to do that, we are going to use dividend-paying whole life insurance from a mutual company. That's the vehicle that we use like a bank. In just a moment, I will prove to you that dividend-paying whole life insurance works more like a bank than it does anything else. The number one reason we're going to use dividend-paying whole life insurance like a bank is because this is what the rich do and have been doing for over 200 years in this country. This is what your bank does. Did you know that conventional banks, it does not matter which one, look up any of them you'd like to, own more dividend-paying whole life insurance from mutual companies than they own in land and real estate combined. Land and buildings combined. They own more of this. Let me ask you a question. In your town, how many branches does your favorite bank have? In your downtown, how many of the tallest buildings have a bank's name on them? When you turn on the basketball game, the football game, the soccer game, whatever you're into, how many of these stadiums and arenas are named after banks? Let me ask you a question. Do you think that they're dumb? Or maybe they know something that you don't know? And if this is their number one tier one asset, I probably think that they know what they're doing. And if it's your first time hearing about this, I'd probably say maybe it's time we copy them, right? If they know what they're doing. There's also a bunch of folks who have used dividend-paying whole life insurance to start their businesses. These are some of the older folks. You probably recognize these names. Walt Disney, J.C. Penney, Ray Kroc, that's McDonald's. But there's some newer folks as well that have used it. If you have heard of Walmart, I probably think everybody has. Walmart was purchasing dividend-paying whole life insurance on every single employee that opted into their health program up until 1995. Every single one. In 1995, they got in trouble. They weren't telling their employees, and that's why they've stopped and have only started doing it on C-level employees, not everyone. But every single person up until 95. Dividend-paying whole life insurance from a mutual company. What about Pampered Chef? You heard of that company? That was started with dividend-paying whole life insurance from a mutual company. Jim Harbaugh, the coach of Michigan football, right now gets paid from dividend-paying whole life insurance from a mutual company. It's been right in front of us, and we just didn't know. To be clear, there are other types of insurance that you might have heard of, like universal life, index universal life, variable life, and term insurance. And to be as clear as I can be, we are not talking about those. They do not work for a banking vehicle. And that's what we're here to talk about. We want to use this like a bank. Here is the easiest way in the world to understand how dividend-paying whole life insurance works more like a bank than it does anything else. Okay? You guys understand insurance. I'm not going to blow your mind with anything here. You guys know that if you pay $10 a month for insurance on this guy, and you drop your phone in the toilet, that they'll send you a check, a benefit check, so you can go get a new phone. That's how it works. If you pay $100 a month for insurance on your car, or $200, whatever it is, and you crash your car on the way home, right? They will cut you a benefit check so you can replace your car within reason. They've got some parameters around that stuff, right? You can't have done it on purpose and all that stuff, okay? That's the same way with life insurance. If you pay the bill, the premium, that's what they call it over in insurance companies. If you pay that, the insurance company has a benefit for you. It's called the death benefit. Now, because this is whole life insurance, that means it lasts for your whole life, right? So at some point, they know that they have to give this benefit to your friends, to your family, to your church, to your charity, right? And so whole life works a little bit more like owning than it does renting. See, when you rent, you pay your rent payment, and you can live in your house, your apartment, right? You don't own anything, you're not building any equity, you can live there for the term, then you got to get out. But when you own and you make your mortgage payment, let's say, you're paying down how much of that house is now owned by the bank, and now you own it, and it builds equity. Well, it's the same thing in whole life. If they have to give out the death benefit because it's whole life, then the cash value is what they call it, is the equity of how much you've already paid for. That's all that's happening. So here's what happens. Every time you pay your premium, you pay the bill, they have to give you a benefit. That's how insurance works. You guys know that to be true. And since it's whole life, and you are going to pass away at some point, which means the insurance company is going to pay this benefit at some point, they'll say, here's how much of that benefit you could have now if you want it. It's called cash value. And so anytime we spend the cash value, here's where it gets really fun. We might spend that cash value to go purchase something like a car or a house. So our cash value goes down a little bit. We spent it. Well, that cash value came from the benefit, so the benefit will drop a little bit. But what does not change is our premium deposit. And the fun thing about dividend paying whole life insurance from a mutual company is that anything that you deposit in premium, the bill you pay, whatever you want to call it, the insurance company guarantees to have uninterrupted compounding interest on that money specifically. And so by definition, if you put money in premium, that will be saved and it will earn, while at the same time you can spend their cash value at your leisure for anything that you might want to spend it on. And so that's where we come up with our saying, it's a way to save money and spend money at the exact same time. Now, before I jump into things and keep moving, I want to ask you guys a question here. How many of you think about how long you've been working full time, right? You've been working, you've been making money. How many checks have you gotten in your entire life, right? How many checks have you gotten since you started working? 16, 17, 18 years old, full time, check, commission check, payroll check. How many checks have you actually gotten in that time? How much money have you made? I bet you if you really thought about it, I know I'm putting you on the spot and going fast. I bet you if I really thought about it, you've probably made $1 million, $2 million, $3 million, $4 million in your lifetime. The question I've got for you today is, why don't you have $1 million or $2 million or $3 million, right? And the reason you don't is because we've spent it. Now, I'm not saying that you've wasted it. I'm just saying that it's spent. We earn money, then we have to use it to go buy things. But what if instead of spending our money, we could save our money and we still have money to spend to go purchase things, but it was always someone else's? You guys have heard of this before, right? OPM, other people's money. Well, inside of dividend paying whole life insurance, that's what this is built for. Cash value, OPM. You have someone else's money to spend so you can stop earning yours and immediately turning and giving it away. That's what makes this really fun. Okay, so the last thing I want to show you guys here this morning is how to use this system to purchase something like a car. So I'll bring it up now and we'll walk through it together. All right. Oh, our slide went backward here. All right. So this is a real life example of someone using a dividend paying whole life insurance policy using OPM to purchase the car. Okay. I want to walk you guys through it. I'll go nice and slow so you understand. I'll highlight these years specifically. Let's see how we do getting our money back on the car. All right. So in this particular policy, in this particular bank, in column 3, you'll see his policy premium deposit. I know this can be confusing. Let me break it down for you just a little bit here. Okay. Policy premiums is the bill at the insurance company. That's what they call it. The reason that we put the word deposit there is because we are going to use this policy as a bank. And when you put money into a bank, isn't it called a deposit? They're using this policy as a bank, and they've decided in this example, third column, to deposit $10,000 a year into this policy. Okay. Now you might be thinking, oh my goodness, that's really high. But reminder, this is their own private bank now. That's not high. I bet some of you are depositing $10,000 into your regular conventional bank accounts in a month, in a paycheck, in a commission check, right? They're doing it all year. This is nothing. This is very, very low for this example. It's a bank account. They're putting $10,000 a year into it, and they want to do it 5 times running, 5 years in a row, and then they actually drop their deposit to a lower value at $4,000 a year. You can see that in the third column there. Now, immediately available when you pay your $10,000, all the way to the right-hand side here is our death benefit. It's our benefit. That's the way insurance works. The second you put in $10,000, you get a benefit of $375 that goes to your family, friends, church, or charity. Okay? But because it's whole life and they know at some point they've got to send that benefit to those folks, they'll let you earn some of it. It's equity. Does this make sense? It's equity of the benefit. And that's the cash value available column. It's how much of the benefit you can spend. So what's important is when we spend this cash value, it is not subtracting from our deposit. No. That cash value came from the benefit, not from our deposit. So let's walk through this in line one here. 10,000 goes in. The benefit is 375, and the cash from the benefit ready to go is 5,800. When I tell you the benefit is ready to go, I'm talking about you can get access to this money immediately to spend it. $5,800. In the second year, they put in $10,000. The benefit jumps to $399, and the equity of the benefit that is paid for that the person can use immediately is $11,900. Third year, 10,000 in, benefits now at $424, and the equity of the benefit is $21,000. And this is the year that this particular person decided to spend some of the money. So they take $20,000 out to purchase a car. So here's what happened. They took money from their now private bank. Immediately, they could go and get it. They did not have to wait 3 years. They just decided they wanted to. They took 20,000 bucks. They went to the car dealership. They bought their car. Now, they just used money from a bank, and they thought to themselves, at the conventional bank, they always make me pay back the money. I don't think anybody on this call would say they've been to a bank, they've gotten money from the bank, and the bank did not make them pay it back. That's not how it works. The bank always makes you pay it back. And so they thought to themselves, I should pay this money back to my personal bank. But here's where it gets fun. Do they have to? No way. It's their personal bank. They're in charge. But they said, if I don't, that's like saying that my money's not as important as their money, so I think I want to. So they decided to repay themselves $400 a month. That's $4,800 a year, 400, 12 times, and they did it 5 years running. So that's $24,000, okay? So it's $4,800 in that car loan payment 5 times running. So here's what I want to do. I want to take a second to look at this 7-year stretch and look at what we've done so far, okay? We've paid $58,000 as a deposit into our bank, okay? 10,000 5 times, 4,000 twice. That's 58,000. We took $20,000 out to purchase a car, and we put back in $24,000 because we treated our bank just like the conventional bank. So in 7 years' time, the total amount of money that we have deposited into this bank is $62,000. But at the end of 7 years, does everyone see that cash value available column? How much money is sitting in our cash value ready to be spent if we wanted it 7 years later? It says $58,391. So let me break this picture down for you. You, in 7 years' time, deposited $62,000 into a bank. Again, that's nothing. Most of us are depositing $62,000 into our regular banks, our conventional banks, in a year. Some of us in half the year. Some of us in a few months, right? He did it in 7 years' time, $62,000. At the end of his 7 years, he still had $58,000 in his bank. That's about 94%. 62 in, 58 still in there. That's about 94% of everything he put in, but you guys forgot. And he has a $20,000 paid for car. 96% of everything he put in the bank he still has, and a paid for car. It's been his for the last 5 years. He still has it. He can still drive it. He still owns it. But cars don't last forever, do they? So let's do it one more time. Let me ask you a question. If you've got $58,000 sitting inside your own private bank that you could get access to anytime, and it technically is OPM, someone else's money, would you go down to Bank of America or Wells Fargo to get your next car? I doubt it. I don't think anybody would do that. They'd take their money out of their own private bank and go do it. And that's what this person did. They took $20,000 out of their own private bank. Okay? Then what happened is, let's do the math again. $4,000, 5 years running. That's $20,000, right, that he put in. He also took $20,000 out to buy a car again. You can see that in bold. And then he repaid himself. He repaid himself $400 a month, $4,800 a year, and he did it 5 years running. In net, in this 5-year stretch, he deposited a total of $24,000 into his private bank. But look at his cash growth. His cash grew $36,420. It went from $49,000 when he took the car out, the money for the car, to $94,000. That's a $36,000 growth from his last car, And he has 2 paid for cars this time. One's 10 years old, one's 5 years old. He can still drive them. He still owns them. He can sell them, he can trade them, and give them to the family. Not only does he have $36,000 worth of growth, he also has the cars. And that's what I wanted to walk you guys through here this morning. It's exactly what I mentioned to you at the beginning. It's how to save money and spend money at the exact same time. It's how to purchase something like a car in this particular case, keep the car, but also get the money back. $24,000 is the net injection, but he made $36,000 on this car purchase. That's exactly what they told me I was missing a few years ago, right? It was exactly how banks worked. It was banking that I was missing, how to save money, how to spend money at the exact same time. And so that's what I wanted to give you guys here this morning and share with you. To wrap up, I want to give you guys just a piece of information on how to reach out to us and contact us if you are interested. The first thing I'm going to do is actually put a QR code on the screen, and you guys can scan that with your smartphone if you'd like to. And on that QR code, it'll have all of my personal information, so you could reach out if you've got specific questions. It's got a replay of this presentation if you want to watch it again, or send it to a family member or friend who was not on this call. And it also has all the information about who we are and what we can do to help you. So I'm going to put that QR code on the screen and share it with you guys. And then as soon as we've got that up, I'll stop. And if you've got any questions, throw them in the comment. But I want to be respectful of everyone's time and make sure that we get the other information back to you guys. So I'm going to go ahead and throw that QR code on the screen. Hopefully you guys can see that. Let's see, try to make it a little bigger for you there, so that way you can get to it. If you can scan that QR code, I'm going to do it on my phone and make sure it works. But that's how you'll get all the information. Oh yeah, it's working pretty well. That's how you get all the information about who we are and how we can help you if you are interested in becoming your own banker and being able to save money and spend money at the exact same time.
Thank you, Jonah.
You're welcome.
Jonah, that was a great presentation. Jonah, do reach out to him at thebankingbros.com or click that QR code that's on the screen right now. Great information, Jonah, and I love how you broke it down with the stories and with the information that you had on the screen. You know, being able to own 2 cars after 10 years and make an additional $36,000 on my money. You know, it sounds like that's the best thing out there since sliced bread. And I love me some sliced bread. So thank you for sharing that information with us. He is a part of the Brent Kessler team, the Money Multipliers, but you can reach out to Jonah at thebankingbros.com. Click that QR code that was on the screen, and you can even watch the replay of this great presentation. Any final thoughts that you have for us, Jonah, before we let you go today?
No, I would love to connect with anyone who is watching or is interested. So our consultations are completely free. So feel free to reach out. Again, use the QR code, or hopefully I can get a little bit of a rundown of who was joining on our call today, and maybe I'll be able to email you some information just in case you missed the QR code. But I'd love to chat and answer your questions for you. So that sounds great.
Thank you, Jonah. Very, very informational.
You're welcome.
All right, you guys, that was Jonah Du. You can reach out to him by clicking that QR code that was on the screen. And then, yeah, maybe you can have some gold money just like Brenda is using on the screen. You know, I love that whole ideal about becoming your own banker. You know, we just unconsciously misclassify, as Jonah said, our whole interpretation about money. We blindly put our money in the bank and think that the bankers are going to be working in our best interest, when in reality, they're taking our money and working in their own best interest, becoming the best bank that they can be. And we're not really utilizing all of our resources to become the best people we can be from a financial standpoint. So I'm glad we're able to share that information. I'm thankful to Jonah for sharing it today. Thankful for Brent Kessler, who's been on for many of our mastermind classes. And it's not the knowledge that makes you powerful, it's the applied knowledge that makes you powerful. So let's hope that you guys who are watching us live or watching us in the replay, you will apply this knowledge or reach out to Jonah or Brent or anyone on the Money Multiplier team to see how you can become your own bank and, hey, become the best version of yourself from a financial standpoint. How you like the show so far, Brenda?
It's been very informational, because really what Jonah just talked about is kind of what Brandon said. You can write all this stuff down and you can have it all up here. It's like you said about having the knowledge, but to actually apply it to go forward is what you need to do. And that's with anything in your life. And I know our next speaker is going to talk about that too. But we got some stuff in our store. Look at here.
Yeah, Brenda, our fashion, she's more than just the brainstorm behind BTBY. She's also our fashionista. She's rocking the BTBY hat. She's rocking the BTBY shirt there in black. I'm rocking the BTBY polo shirt in white. And, it's nothing like letting the world know who you are and who you are becoming. And if you're looking to become the best version of you, then why not tell the world about it? And here's a good way to do it with our hats and our shirts and our other merchandise with BTBY. You can order it now. You don't have to wait till our conferences or our masterminds. Here's a few details on how you can become the best version of you and let the world know by wearing the merchandise. We'll be right back with the BTBY Mastermind series.
That's how we support our movement, is through our services, through our attire, through, anything we do, our speaking class. If you need a website, if you need social media management, if you need to learn how to become a better speaker, if you need speaker representation, we do all of that. But most importantly, it also helps to create our youth experiences, that we go into the schools and we bring our stories, our knowledge, our education, and we apply it to what we've done to our life so that the youth can experience what we have experienced ourselves and hopefully maybe not get in any trouble.
Yeah, we're trying to reach these young minds where they are so that they can start thinking about becoming the best version of themselves as well. It's funny, Jonah said in his presentation, it's not, do you want to earn from the harvest or do you want to pay taxes on the seed? And he said that it's better to pay taxes on the seed because the seed has a lower investment than hopefully the harvest. But when we think about our youth, we want to invest in getting seeds into them sooner than later because we want the harvest to be greater. We want them to become the best versions of themselves. And by default, we as the adults, the people who are planting the seeds, become the best versions of ourselves in the process. So we want to tell you a little bit more about the BTBY youth experience that's coming to a town near you real soon. So take a listen real quick.
We've already got
Yes, come on over to Come Change Your Life.
5
Go
dates
ahead,
lined
Brenda.
5 dates lined up already for the youth experience this summer alone.
Absolutely. So if you have some kids in your neighborhood, kids in your community, kids that need that seed planted into them that's going to grow them into the person that they were created to be, but you may need a little bit of help, then reach on out to us. Go on over to comechangeyourlife.com/kids. Learn about what we're doing with the BTBY youth experience in our assemblies, in our breakout groups, in our virtual conferences for the youth, everything that you need to help your youth become the best version of themselves. We look forward to seeing you and giving you the experience of a lifetime with the BTBY Youth Experience. So welcome back to our BTBY monthly mastermind series. Hopefully you guys have enjoyed yourself so far. We're looking forward to you to let us know where you are watching us from, and let us know if this information is helping you. We do these for free, but we know the information is priceless. So we want you to go ahead and put in the comments where you're watching us from, and any questions or comments that you have for our speakers will be most welcome. So Brenda, are you ready for our next speaker?
I am. Our next speaker is right here in the Kansas City area. I get to meet him in person quite a bit. He's a wealth of knowledge, and he has a lot of experience in what he teaches others to do.
Absolutely. And we are so glad to have him as part of the BTBY family. He's another person that not only talks the talk, but he walks the walk. Him, just like Brandon, added the goal of becoming a master speaker this year, and he's one of our graduates of our BTBS Academy, Becoming the Best Speaker Academy. But not only that, our guy Rich Steffens is a certified life mastery consultant and a master practitioner of NLP. Now, you heard that word again, master. We help people master the things that they want to achieve in their life. And he has a passion for helping purpose-driven entrepreneurs discover, develop, and implement their zone of genius in alignment with proven custom-tailored strategies so that they can build a business that provides them with predictable growth, cash flow, and balance in their personal lives. Now, y'all, he's been doing this for over 43 years in his career, and he's been self-employed for 35 of those years in six different businesses in a training, mentoring, and coaching capacity in each one of those. And if you stick and stay today, he's going to teach you some of the tools, skills, and strategies that he has in his tool belt to help you become the best version of you that you can be today. So let's welcome to the stage our favorite speaker, master practitioner, Mr. Rich Steffens. Rich, mic check, 1 2 1 2.
Hey, good morning. How are you?
We are great. How are you, sir?
I'm doing pretty well. Yeah, it looks like weather's going to be nice outside today. I love 3-day weekends, especially the first day of a 3-day weekend, and because you got 2 more to recoup. But yeah, so it's life is good. Life is good.
Well, we know as a master practitioner and a business owner for over 43 years that every day is a weekend for you. So we can't wait to get our pen and our pad to learn the tricks and the tools that you have for us to help us engage our genius. So without further ado, welcome to the BTBY monthly mastermind series, Mr. Rich Steffens.
Yes, good morning, and thank you very much for this opportunity. I think one of the things that I would say is that every weekend for an entrepreneur, yes, it's a weekend, doesn't necessarily mean a time off, but it definitely is a weekend. But anyway, today, what I'm going to talk about is what I refer to as a successful personal structure. And which aligns in my mind very much with the concept of be the best you. Because without your own personal success structure, it's pretty difficult to be successful, whether you're going to be in business or whether you're going to be in life just in general. And today, I'm going to take you through a process, primarily at a kind of a 30,000-foot view, about how to do that. And I use a concept called the 4Ds. And the 4Ds are discover, develop, dedicate, and deploy. And we'll get into those in just a little bit. But first, I'd like to just share with you what my travels have been that have brought me to this point, because I'm a firm believer of that everybody should eat their own dog food. And I know it's a little bit of a slang term, but the bottom line is that everything that I'm sharing with you today, I learned as a result of having gone through some difficult times myself. And they weren't all difficult. There were a lot of great times, but all of them put together is what basically gives me the, I guess, confidence as well as the desire to share this with others as I kind of help them in my program and the clients that I work with. But anyway, growing up until about the age of 35, if someone asked me if I had a successful personal structure, I would have responded with, yes, I do, absolutely. And I wouldn't have ever given it a doubt. But I was blessed with great parents that gave me the support and permission to experience many terrific opportunities as I grew up and before I moved out on my own. And from a very young age, I had awesome friends. I was a member of a very adventurous Boy Scout troop and had opportunities like working on my grandfather's ranch, baling hay and branding cattle. I spent my 3 high school summers working at a dude ranch in Colorado, leading guided tours in the Rocky Mountain National Park on horses. I even climbed my first 14er at the age of 15 and started my first small business selling items that I rescued from a Kmart dumpster. And those are just a few, because there were a lot more than that. But after graduating from high school, I moved back to Colorado to live in the mountains for a year with one of my dude ranch buddies. And we actually did work while we were there, but only enough to pay the bills. And the rest of our time was spent squeezing out as much hiking, backpacking, rock climbing, snowshoeing, and skiing as possible, and which was an awesome time. And then when our year was up, I moved back home, got a job, got an apartment with 2 of my coworkers. And then one night after work, one of my roommates tosses out this idea, we should take a trip to San Diego, because none of us have ever seen the ocean before. At that age, that seemed like a totally logical reason to do such a thing. And 3 hours later, we were on our way to California. And it wasn't 2 weeks into our visit, we rented a house in Balboa Park, and San Diego became home for the next 3 years. And prior to heading back home to get our belongings, I went out, got a job, and was hired by one of San Diego's most popular restaurants, an experience that provided a very significant pivot point for me in my future. And that pivot point is what I would call a cleverly disguised opportunity. So in San Diego, about a year and a half had gone by, and the general manager pulled me aside and told me that the kitchen manager in specific, had been diagnosed with a terminal disease and would not be returning to work, and asked me if I'd be willing to assume his position. I took that as a compliment, and I agreed to do what I could do to fill his shoes. And after successfully filling the role for about 2 years, I was asked if I had ever considered applying for an actual management position with the company. And if interested, the HR director was going to be in town to interview another applicant, and an interview could be arranged for me at the same time. So I said yes. And then on the day of the interview, while waiting for the HR director to arrive, I had a chance to talk to the other applicant. And we talked about several things, but what really caught my attention was when he told me he had no restaurant experience. And I remember silently saying to myself, this is going to be a cakewalk, or so I thought. Anyway, I arrived at work the next day, prepared for the good news, and what I received was my first memorable gut check. I was informed that the other applicant had been awarded the management position, and I had not. And what really knocked me back on my heels was the HR director's reason. It was that the other applicant had a college degree. And that for me was a very hard pill to swallow, and was the first time in my 22 years of life that working hard did not win the day. And then crying and moaning about my situation for about 2 weeks and licking my wounds, I received a call from the restaurant company's home office, and it was the corporate chef. He told me his dad was on the board of the Culinary Institute of America in New York and thought this would be an excellent opportunity and a good fit for me. He went on to say that there was an 18-month wait list, but if the opportunity really resonated with me, his dad could get me in as soon as I could make it happen. That call quickly removed the burn from losing the management job that I thought I definitely needed and wanted. And 2 months later, I was in class at the CIA. This was my cleverly disguised opportunity. Over the next 3.5 years, I acquired my culinary restaurant management degrees, met the woman I would marry, and moved back to California to start this thing that most people, as well as myself, called a career. At that point, I was on the red carpet. Once in California, I hired on with a restaurant group and worked with them for the next 9 years. I was 26 years old, and what I experienced in those 9 years went way, and I mean way beyond my expectations. I started off as a kitchen manager, typical starting spot, but within 4 years, I was a regional manager for the western third of the United States for that company. That included the opportunity to oversee the corporate management training facility, as well as the corporate test kitchen. I had a company car, a generous monthly budget to check out the quote unquote competition, the opportunity to rub elbows with literally some of the biggest names in the food industry. And what I was hired to do seemed to come so naturally that I couldn't believe they even paid me to do it. I had the motivation to hit the floor running every day and was rejuvenated by a job that chewed most people up and spit them out. I was on the red carpet. But no sooner than that, God sends a teacher, because I had a lesson to learn. One day it all came to an end. I received that letter from the parent company that had sold the restaurant group, and my position, among many others, was going to be eliminated. Yes, this was an unfortunate thing to lose a job I loved, along with all the benefits it provided. But the most regrettable loss was the one that I didn't fully grasp until years later. What I lost was a position that allowed me to operate in what I know now to be my lane. In my mind, what I lost could be easily duplicated. It give me a couple of weeks, heck, I'll be back in the saddle with another great job, no problem. And as a result, my wife and I decided to view this break of employment as an opportunity to move closer to family. So we sold our home and moved to Kansas City. The following 17 years consisted of 5 different positions and 5 different businesses, and none of them came close to providing me with the in my lane experience that I had lost. At the beginning of each new business, I was content for a short period of time, but only it was just something new and that wore off quickly. The thought that began to surface for me was, life has got to be better than this. And will I ever find my in my lane job again? And after a few years and 2 businesses, I concluded that I might just need to get over it and be happy with a job that I like versus a job that I love, and focus on the financial opportunity. Succeeding had now turned into coping. And this time, that was the lesson that the teacher sent. Now that I learned that lesson, it was time to come out of the desert. One day, after I was perusing my collection of self-help books I've accumulated over the years, being the self-junkie behavioral person that I like to think of myself, I landed on one I had started several times, only to put it back on the shelf. The title was, and still is for that matter, Ordering Your Private World by Gordon MacDonald. This time when I picked it up, I had a very hard time putting it down. I quickly realized that something needed to change. His book motivated me to reflect on my past and connect the dots. And as McDonald puts it, it was time for a thorough scouring of the inside of life. And those dots brought to light some realizations that resonate with me to this day, and is the beginning of what I'd like to share with you. One is that I am very clear on the significance as well as what it feels like to be in my lane. Another dot was our past has to be viewed as our teacher and not our master. We are born with everything we need to be successful in our lives. And it's not that others have more to offer than we do. It's just that some are just offering more of what they have than we are. It is our opportunity and responsibility to unlock and engage our own unique genius. And this genius is the basis of what we're talking about today, and that is a successful personal structure. And just to reiterate, a successful personal structure needs to come first and is the foundation for successful business structure as well as a successful life structure. And the last thing is that what also ties into where I found myself today and what I'm doing now is that every position I've held, I found myself involved in a training or mentoring position. And the reality is that was the part of the job I always enjoyed the most. It was through connecting the dots of my past that I made the decision to launch my in-game career position as a business strategy coach. My lane is helping others create their own successful personal structure. And it all starts with gaining a really clear realization that most significant asset we have is ourselves. The process I've used for myself and currently with all of my clients is what I call the 4Ds. The 4Ds are discover, develop, dedicate, and deploy. And the first objective is to discover all the facets of what it means to be you, how you're wired, what is your zone of genius. The second objective is to develop what you've discovered about your zone of genius and bring it to the point of being able to use it and own it. The third objective is to purposefully dedicate what you've developed to the areas of your life and or business. And the final objective is to deploy or implement your new personal structure and perspective with a mindset of resourcefulness and with gratitude. So let's start with discover. In discover, we talk about the gifts, skills, and talents, the gifts that we were born with, the God-given innate wiring that makes you who you are. When your gifts, skills, and talents are fully understood and implemented, your competition disappears because no one will nor can they do you as well as you. Your greatest asset in life is you. And when you're clear about who you are, you will love yourself more than you can imagine. And that is when things start to show up. It's when who you are at your very best. This process also brings to light that none of us are great at everything. So we need to permit ourselves to accept our weaknesses and own who we are. And the old saying is, everyone has a dork factor. We need to own ours. And then there's our values. The values are what is important to us, not always what we like, but what is important to us. Values are the beliefs we are told as a result, as a result of the experiences we've had in life. Values create motivation. They determine our behavior and are essential to our personality. Our values provide us with a structure for filtering out the decisions that we make and the actions we take. Our values are also the massive contributor to our purpose. And when we function congruently with our values, our goals are much easier to achieve. It's also important to mention that we also have values that do not serve us. And it's important to speak aware of those as well. Those are often referred to as our shadow, but that's a topic for another presentation. And then there's the infamous vision. And I want to start by drawing your attention to what often gets overlooked, and that is the distinction between a vision and a goal. Goals are finite. Goals are something we work toward and are the markers what we use to measure our achievement. Visions are infinite, something we work from and are an invitation of what can be or happen. An analogy I like to use is that of a professional football player. Their goals are first downs and touchdowns, but their vision is the Super Bowl. The vision is what can happen and provides the internal motivation for all the hard work required to achieve the goals. For visions to be effective, they need to be so clear that we can easily connect to them using all of our five senses. And to kind of help you get started here are some of the questions that will help you embody what your vision would be as you go through the process of building one. And this is best done when in a quiet, undisturbed setting. And it starts off with, how does your perfect day unfold? Who is around you? Things like, who do you see? How do you feel? What do you hear? What do you smell? What is the temperature? Is there a breeze? And then, how does the day end? And with any tried and true method, once completed, how do you go about validating to determine whether or not the vision that you have is a valid one? Here's a few questions you can ask yourself. Does my vision give me more life? Does my vision align with my values? Does my vision require me to grow? Does my vision require help from a higher power? Does my vision have good in it for others? And I would like to leave you with a quick tip, and that is, if you can identify the exact steps it takes to make your vision a reality, then your vision needs to be bigger. Your vision is the invitation into the future. It is the very thing that drives your reticular activator system. So it's extremely important. And many people think they have a vision when the reality is all they have is goals. Moving on to develop. Once you've discovered your gifts, talents, skills, values, and vision, and the clarity necessary to own them, the next step is to develop the combination to a point where they can be usable in your life and business. And when I say own, I mean that they all resonate with you undeniably and comfortably. When you can truly own what you have discovered, there's a substantially reduced risk of being distracted by the alternatives that we often call silver bullets, or the dissuasion of those that are in our sphere who have a tendency to whisper those things we call opinions in our ear. In the develop step, we see the creation of purpose, often referred to as our why. This brings up another point of distinction. Our why has two sides. The first side of our why is the one we recognize, which is why we do what we do. The second side of our why is why we do what we do the way we do it. I'll use a simple analogy. If we were standing in a kitchen with a dirty floor and each of us were given a mop told to mop the floor, will we get the floor cleaned? Of course. Will we mop the floor the same way, go in the same direction at the same speed, using the same pattern? Not likely. The first why typically represents the external motivation, and the second, your internal motivation. Combining the two becomes the filter for everything we think and do. Actions taken in the vein of our why creates fulfillment. Not being in our why allows room to be governed by our performance as opposed to our God-given identity. The struggles we experience in life with people and situations directly reflect how right we are with our why. And one of the hidden and most significant benefits is finding our why is the permission to eliminate those things that are not our why, thereby making time on our to-do schedule to get more done. Once our vision has been created and our why is identified, our reticular activator will automatically be activated. And here are some things that you'll become more acutely aware of when your reticular activator is engaged. You'll find activities that make you come alive. You'll identify patterns and opportunities amongst the complications that you run across in life. You'll identify also the things that people count on you for the most. You'll also realize activities that you do all the time and always want to know more about. And the last one is tasks that come you'll identify as and the tasks that come naturally and seem like nothing special to you. Our why is an ever-evolving process, and refining our why is a relational, not academic process. As a result, it will take time. The relationship is with you, yourself, your higher power, and what I refer to is partners in believing. Partners in believing fit into three categories. The first one is those that want what I have or you have, those that want what I want or you want, those that have what I want. Realize that the ultimate benefit of redefining or refining your why is experienced when you make the contributions to your life, business, or community that you wish to, which leads us into dedicate. This is the step where what has been discovered and developed aligns with action. When our opportunities and actions are aligned with our visions and values, when operating in alignment with our identity, there's a level of resiliency and peace that occurs. Do something today that your future self will thank you for, and connect based on the aspirations of who you are and your core values. And remember, destiny is a God-given right, but along with that comes a responsibility of becoming aligned with what he has given us. And then on to deploy, our final step. As you deploy your new successful personal structure, I'd like to leave you with these thoughts to ponder. If our life was our child, would our only expectation be that they get taller and be able to take care of themselves? That success is 10% strategy, 10% community, and 80% mindset. When things aren't working, stop working. Take a deep breath, notice what you're focusing on, and then begin to focus on what you want. Never forget that you always have the power to choose. You can be in a resourceless state, one where the focus is on problems, or you can be in a resourceful state, one where you focus on the solutions. And then there's a matter of responding. You can respond with a very thought out process to a situation, or you can knee jerk it or knee jerk react to it, which does not produce solution. And I encourage you to don't put off the benefits of being grateful until you've reached your goal. Take the time to be thankful for where you are currently and what it's taken to get you to where you are, because this is where the energy comes from to get you where you're going. And the last piece, and this is what I tell my clients, and this is actually why I get clients, and that is, as you navigate the gap between where you are now and where you want to be, just know that the objectivity from a third party trusted person will expedite your process. I just want to say thank you for listening, and I hope this could be of some value to you. And if you'd ever like to kind of explore this in a more detailed fashion, I would encourage you to reach out. I'm glad to talk it over in a very collaborative way and to see what of the part of this could be of use for you in your life.
Thank you, Rich.
Live engaged.
You know, I love the title of Engage Your Genius because we all have it within us, but we don't ever engage it. Just like a car sits parked, but if you don't engage it and drive, you're going nowhere.
Exactly.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I mean, you can't turn a corner when the car is parked.
Nope, you can't.
Absolutely.
You can't.
And I love how you take us through the process of the 4 Ds. I really wanted to make sure that everybody heard those things, where you discover, then you develop, then you dedicate, and then you deploy. Each one of them is significant in their own right, but when you put them together, it gives you a formula that allows you to engage your genius and become a success. So we appreciate you for sharing that information with us. Rich, anyone who wants to get in contact with you, we're putting your website up on the screen right now. But Tell them what they can expect if they reach out to you for a discovery call.
Yeah, I think first of all is that you can book a discovery call with me. It's actually in my LinkedIn profile. Book a call there. But my thing is about helping people find what it is that they're after, and however that may be. And I may be the source, or I may be the bridge to a source. My thing is to give them benefit and also give them some perspective of the fact that there is a solution out there and what it may look like, and just give them the opportunity to get some things off their chest and in a way that it's non-obligatory, and can be comfortably and privately shared, and can give them some comfort level in moving forward.
Well, we
Well,
appreciate
I
that.
think they
That's
did.
very good advice.
So
Absolutely. And Rich is going to be with us in Kansas City for our Becoming the Best You conference. So you definitely, if you don't get a chance to book a discovery call with him virtually, you can see him and talk to him in person August 25th in Kansas City. So go on over to comechangeyourlife.com, get your tickets, book your hotel, and get that opportunity to network with some great speakers like our speaker here, Mr. Rich Steffen. Thank you so much, Rich. Appreciate you for being on our mastermind this month. Okay.
yeah, look forward to rubbing elbows with people.
That'd be great.
All right.
Absolutely. All right. So that is Rich Steffens. Again, you can go to his website, richsteffen.org, and go on over to comechangeyourlife.com. All
Man, your
right.
internet is
Looks
going in and out.
like
You are
I
freezing
froze.
up.
Can you hear me, Brenda?
I can hear you. You're just freezing up. So, I'm going over to comechangeyourlife.com. Check out what's coming up in August in Kansas City. But we also have an event coming up in just a few
Can you hear
weeks
me?
here. I can hear you. But you're frozen. So I'm
Okay.
going to play a commercial while you're trying to figure that out. Because we have a little event coming up in Kansas City. If you are needing something in your life, if you're missing something in your life, if you feel that you need that spiritual connection, we have a Safe in His Arms conference coming up June 9th and 10th in Kansas City. Dr. Jawanda Rollins Fells, Dr. Real Talk herself, is coming in from Virginia. Terrence is coming in. Her husband, Will Fells, is coming in. And so is Chuck Prenzen all the way from Hawaii. Check this out. Isn't that an amazing little video about change? Because let me tell you, I wouldn't be where I was without the love of Christ. And I've shared my story before, but I'm telling you, he is the main reason for my change. And it's powerful. It's powerful because he's real. Anyways, Terrence, are you back? Is your internet up and going? There you are. There you are. Who's our next speaker coming up? He's also a graduate of our Becoming the Best Speaker class. He's also been on the BTBY stage. He's also going to be on the stage in Kansas City, August 25th through the 27th. You don't want to miss him because you want to come see him in person. And that is Coffee Cup Chuck, aka Chuck Doyle. How you doing, Chuck?
What's good, people?
I brought
What's
you up a
going
little
on?
early before Terrace could read your bio because I wanted to chat with you for just a minute.
That's cool.
What's BTBY done for you?
It's changed my life. It's definitely changed my direction. You guys make me accountable for a lot of the things that I wasn't being accountable for in my life prior. So I've definitely been able to grow a lot here within the last 8 months. Like you guys mentioned earlier, I took that class, and once I took the class, a lot of things changed. I was able to get up on stage this past conference, and I was able to actually get my name out there, and it felt good. So this has been a great experience for me, and with the next conference coming up here in the next couple of months, I feel good. I can't wait.
Now, Terrence, tell us a little bit about Coffee Cup Chuck. Well, maybe he's having some technical issues. So let me tell you a little bit about Chuck, and I'm just going to go from
You
him.
know what? Mic check, mic check. Chuck. Chuck is so electric that he is breaking up my internet connection. So we always say that the speaker can introduce himself way better than we can in their bio. So why don't we just turn it on over to Chuck, and Chuck, go and give us the tools that we can use. I got my cup of coffee right now, and I'm ready to hear what you got to say.
I got my pen too, but before we bring him up, I have to say that this man right here had a bit of a challenge when he was growing up. At the age of 15, he actually went to prison, to an adult men's prison. So, that's a little bit scary, wouldn't you say, Chuck?
Yeah, it was definitely an experience to have at such a young age.
But you didn't let it stop you.
No.
And that's I know that's not what you're going to talk about today, but I wanted people to know that don't let circumstances from your past be your future. Use them to fuel your life. Use them to grow who you are and a stepping stone to move forward, because I'm not so sure that had you not went to prison, you really wouldn't be doing what you're doing right now.
Nope, probably wouldn't. My past, some people, they pull their past with them. They have a tendency to hold on to it. And by holding on to it, you're just adding a lot of weight to your future. So sometimes you just got to shed it. And it could be challenging shedding it, but what's even more challenging is the regret from not keeping steady and staying consistent at trying to live a better life. So I stayed consistent. I had a lot of people in my life telling me that I could do things when I had a lot of people in my life telling me that I couldn't do things. So there's a choice you have to make. It's up to you to make it. And I made the right choice.
You did. And we're very proud of you. We are so glad that you're a part of Becoming the Best You. You are a positive influence on people. You are always reminding people to stay positive. And with that, I'm going to give it to you. Take it away. Stage is yours.
What's good, people? It's your boy, Coffee Cup Chuck. And today, I want to ask you a question. But before I ask you the question, I want to set the stage. So I want you to do me a favor, and I want you to close your eyes. And I want you to imagine that you are submerged completely in water. You can't see anything, it's dark. But you're swimming. And you're swimming fast. You can't hear anything around you, but you know that you're swimming in a direction, and you're not the only one swimming in that direction. What seems like millions of others are doing the same thing you're doing, swimming fast. And you're swimming faster and faster and faster. And all of a sudden you feel a majestic energy that seemed to be pulling you towards it. Faster and faster. And the others are swimming just like you, fast. But something tells you, the closer you get to this majestic energy, that you have to swim faster. You finally make it to this majestic energy and everything goes quiet. Still. The only thing you can hear is your heartbeat. And as your heart is beating, time goes by. And you feel the pressure building, and it's building. And it gets to a point to where you feel like you just want to push. And as you're pushing and pushing, you can start feeling the pulls, and you're being pulled towards the light. You can feel the light. And all of a sudden you see the light and you open your eyes. Welcome to your opportunity of a lifetime. How many of you have ever played the lottery? Chances of winning the lottery are profound. A lot of people don't win. The odds are just not against us. There is a 14 million to 1 chance of any one of us winning the lottery. But guess what? There is an even bigger odd of you being here watching this presentation today. You know, the odds of you being here are 1 in 10, followed by 2,685,000 zeros, which sums up to be 0. So the chances of you being here are 0. What are you doing with it? What are you doing with this opportunity? Brad Leah once asked a question. He said, if you got given $1 million, if you were given $1 million, how would you feel? The answer to that question was mostly everybody would feel grateful. They would feel grateful to receive $1 million. And then he went on top of that and added $10 million to the table. And he asked the question, if you were given $10 million to not wake up tomorrow, would you take it? Would you take $10 million today for today to be your last day? The average person answered, no, that doesn't even sound feasible. So $10 million is worth more than waking up tomorrow. If that's the case, how come we don't wake up feeling like $10 million? What are you doing for yourself? What are you doing? What are you doing with this life of yours? How are you using it? Are you really utilizing it to its fullest capability? Or are you just trying? Yeah, I said trying. You know, when I was growing up, the word trying didn't exist. It was a made up word for excuses. I remember when I was young, I brought my report card home. And instead of taking the report card in to my mom, I decided to try to hide it outside. But my mom and my teachers were a little smarter than me, and my mom was expecting the report card. So when I came in without it, she just sent me back outside to pick it up. I brought the report card in and gave it to her, and she looked at it. She was pissed. She was upset. And she asked me what the hell was wrong with me. And I never forget the words that came out of my mouth after she spoke those words. I told her, Mom, I'm trying. She pulled a chair up and put it in front of me and made me sit down. And she said, I'll be right back. She went and got the belt. She came back. And as I sat there watching this woman hover over me with this belt, I thought about what I said. She told me to try getting out of the chair. And I tried to get up, and she hit me with the belt, which led me to cry, which forced me back down in the chair, which prompted her to ask me the question again, to get up, to try getting up. And I tried getting up again, which I got up, which she hit me with the belt, which made me cry again, and so on and so forth. Now, what seemed to go on for 15 to 20 minutes only ended up being just over a minute. But she eventually stopped, and I eventually got the message. There's no in between. You know, you're either going to do it or you're not going to do it. So yeah, the word try to me is just a dried up word. So do me a favor. What are you doing with yourself? Are you just going to continue to try? Or are you just going to get to doing it? But that ain't going to work, man. Your idea. I don't think your idea is going to work. It's not. Try something different. Do something else. Stay within your parameters. These are the opinions of other people. These are the opinions that other people have for you and your vision and your dreams. And most of these people are your family and your friends. You know, your family and friends, they're a big influence in your life. They're your biggest critics, but they love you and they care and they want you to do good for yourself. So they don't want to see you hurt. So they feel they're coming to your rescue by telling you what they feel is right for you. But God didn't give them the vision. He gave the vision to you. So that decision is up to you and up to you only. There was a lady, a mother, and her son. They were traveling with a donkey. And they traveled through a village. And as they traveled through the village, the mother, who was tired and weak, decided to ride the donkey through the village. Well, the villagers didn't seem to appreciate what was going on. So as they passed through the village, they were assaulted by stone. What did they do? What did they do wrong? Was it because the mom was riding the donkey and allowing the son to walk beside the donkey? Did they take offense to that? They didn't understand and they didn't know. But as they approached the next village, they decided to switch things up a bit. And instead of the mother riding the donkey through the village, the son rode the donkey through the village. Same thing happened. The villagers became outraged and assaulted the two travelers by stone. Now, when they passed the second village and they approached the third village, they decided, man, we don't know what's going on here. We don't know why these villagers are treating us the way they're treating us, but let's try a different approach. Let's try something different. Let's carry the donkey through the next town we come through. But as they were approaching the bridge to the next village and they picked up the donkey to carry him, the donkey proved to be too heavy and they lost their balance and the donkey fell over the bridge into the river below and drowned. The moral of this story here is you can try your best to please people. You can try to listen to their opinions and you can try to live by their guidelines all you want, but in the end, you're the one who's going to end up losing your ass. Which leads me to the next thing. What are you doing for yourself? Are you holding yourself accountable? Is it so easy for you to make everyone else accountable? Is it easy for you to tell someone else what they're doing wrong, or can you handle that same medicine? What are you doing for yourself? 5 years ago, I started my business. I'm on my 5th year now. But the first 4 years, I had the pleasure and the honor of working alongside my wife and my son, with my wife running the office and my son working the field. You get a little spoiled when you have your family working around you, and you expect over time that they learn to see your vision. Well, in my case, they did. So verbally speaking to them was all it was required for us to get things done. So nothing was really set in stone. I spent the first 4 years of the business building the financial structure by building clientele, We didn't have any standard operating procedures, any protocols or policies or anything at play. So as the business grew, we got to a point where we needed to hire outside of the family. And this was where all the problems started. You see, everything was verbal up to that point. And when a lot of these guys were given orders to carry out, they weren't carrying them out to the best of their ability. I blamed the employees. I spent a lot of time blaming the employees. But after a year of noticing that nothing was changing, things were getting better just to go back to worse, and just to get back better and to go back to worse, I noticed a pattern, and the pattern was the structure. There was no structure. I had to hold myself accountable for what was going on. It was me where the problem lied. You see, I didn't put the structure in place for these guys to be able to refer back to. So I had to change it. So what do you think I did? I went out and got involved with people who were smarter than me in other areas that I want smart in. People who would hold me accountable for things that I learned and needed to apply. So I went and got a business coach. It didn't stop there. You know, accountability goes way farther than just a business. You know, now I have 2 speaking coaches, 2 financial coaches alongside my business coach and a mentor. That's how you hold yourself accountable, by getting people and getting the team around you that'll help you do things and help you hold yourself accountable to do those things. What are you doing for yourself? That's what I really want to know. What are you doing for yourself? Are you allowing the try word to kill you? Are you seriously allowing that word to slow you down? What about the opinions of other people? Are you really allowing those opinions to slow you down and stop you from getting where you want to go? What about accountability? Are you remaining accountable? Are you holding yourself to a higher standard? Or are you just pointing a finger at everybody else? You know, on this journey to becoming the best you got to realize how valuable you are. And you are valuable. You won the lottery. I mean, think about it. It took a lot for you to be here. A whole lot. You are worth more than $1 million. Stop letting it all go to waste, people. Stop letting it go to waste. You won the lottery. So what are you going to do with the winning ticket? Are you going to go out there and treat it like you won the world? Or are you just going to let it all go to waste? It's your boy, Coffee Cup Chuck. Thank you for hanging out with me for another powerful message. I hope you enjoy the rest of your day. And as always, stay positive.
Mic check, 1 2 1 2. Can you hear me, Chuck?
You are back with us. You are back.
Can you hear me, Chuck?
Yes, I can hear you. Can you hear me?
Yes. You know, I gotta use those positive. Yes, I can hear you. There's a little bit of delay, but those positive vibes are coming across the airwaves. You are killing it, my brother. You're doing it with the positivity that we all need in our life. And I love how you've been vulnerable enough to tell me about the lessons your mom taught you. She needed a bit. That's a whole nother story. We got the point and we got the message. But what seed do you want to leave our audience with today about really staying positive based upon what you just shared with us today?
Well, a lot of people give up because it's the easy thing to do. When life gets you down, it is easier to fight through it because the storm passes when you're fighting it. If you're running away from it, you're just running away from the storm. The storm still got to come through. You still got to go through it. As soon as you tire and get weary and you slow down and you stop, it's still going to pass. So fight through it, man. You know, a lot of people, it's just like marriages. You know, you have a bad marriage, no one wants to fight anymore for things. I got tired of running from all of the things that I was creating for myself, and I just stood still and I started swinging and I fought through them. And after the fight, I was still standing. And when you're standing after a brutal attack and you see yourself still standing, it gives you a sense of strength. And every time I go through a battle and I succeed through that battle, Mr. Unstoppable, I feel unstoppable. And it just makes me just work even harder at being the better person or being this best that I could be. And you can't go at things like this alone. So what do? You reach out to people who are doing the same exact thing as you, and you tag along with them, or you help pull them along as well. And that's what this movement is. It's a movement of people who understand that situations happen in life, but you don't stop. You keep moving. What do I always say? This is a locomotive, baby, and it's rolling. So
It is rolling. It's full steam ahead. Mm-hmm. It absolutely is. And you know, there's people that pop into your life that are, you know, Terrence says this a lot, that are here for a season. But those people that are only here for a season help to fuel that forward movement, even though they drop off, because it allows room for others to come in. And then you have those that are there for a lifetime. And those are the valued relationships, because they're investing in you, because they're right there with you. But the people who are there seasonally and sometimes come back even seasonally, they're just as important, because we learn from it. They help to fuel things. But the other thing is, there's also people that you need to cut out, like that bad fruit, that rot, that things that, you know, when you brought out the whole belt thing, sometimes that discipline is needed so you know when to prune.
yes. And she dropped a lot of nuggets on me. With dad not being around, you know, you have to have a mom/dad. And she was hard on us, but she was hard on us because it was just her. So she had to play two roles. And those two roles came out of her at the same time every time. So I'm blessed to be able to have some of those lessons that I was given by her, because they stuck with me all the way through life. And one thing that I can say is I don't try to do anything anymore. You know,
Man,
I don't try. You know, you're either going to do it or you're not. So
that's right. You either do it or you're not. That's right. I love it. Let me see that shirt you're sporting today.
PTP boy.
And where do we get that at?
ComeChangeYourLife.com.
Tell them how well it washes. It's soft. It's just a great shirt.
I'm a big guy, so you know the first thing that comes to my mind is, oh, it's gonna shrink up on me. It's not gonna fit after a couple of washes, or you know the vinyl front is gonna come peeling off after 4 or 5 washes. But now I'm on my 6th or 7th wash now, and it's not fading around the collar. It's nice and stretchy. It feels soft, so it's good quality.
It is good quality. It is good quality. So, Chuck, what are you going to talk about in Kansas City?
Kansas City coming up. I am going to talk about, what are you doing for yourself? Are you tapping into your future, the person that you're going to be in the future? Are you getting into a great relationship with that person, or are you just letting that person wing it? You know, a lot of times we spend a lot of our energy for the now, making all of these decisions for what's going on right now, when you don't understand that you don't have to put up with the consequences for later. Your future self does. So by getting into that relationship with him and getting an understanding of what he or she wants to be, you know, at that later date, you got to really get into a relationship with them. So.
No, absolutely. Very true. Well, thank you so much. I know you've got a busy day. You've got to head out the door and get back to work. But we thank you for taking the time, because you too are investing in others.
Yeah, Terrence, I love that shirt, dude. I love that shirt.
ComeChangeYourLife.com.
I love the I love the electricity. Can you guys hear me?
Yeah,
Mic
can
check,
hear you.
mic check. Can you guys hear me?
We can see the
Okay,
shirt
so
too.
See your shirt too.
apparently your electricity is knocking out my electricity. So there's not much I can say. So I'm just gonna get out the way. And thank you so much for Chuck for bringing the heat and bringing the party to our BTBY monthly mastermind. Make sure you guys check him out in Kansas City, August 25th, so that you can learn how to stay positive, people.
Thanks, Chuck.
Take it easy, guys.
Well, our next speaker, Terrence, is somebody that you have brought to the stage. Am I hearing you, or can you? I think you are cutting me out.
Absolutely. And I know I can hear you. Can you hear me?
You're in and out, but I can hear you at this
Mic
time.
check, mic check.
Yes.
Okay. Well, we're gonna try to make it quick because not only did we just bring the electricity with Chuck, but now we're about to bring the fire that only a lion can bring to the stage. And this brother, he is truly on fire. Not only is he a personal trainer for the last 15 years, but he is also a strength and conditioning coach and a life coach. And he's also carries the distinction of DTM in Toastmasters International, otherwise known as a distinguished Toastmaster. What are we talking about? We're talking about none other than Blaze Dakari Goldsmith. He has spoken in schools, prisons, conferences. He's spoken in Toastmaster events across his division, which is Division E, but also across the international platform of Toastmasters. He has also been in CrossFit competitions. He's done numerous half marathons, and he also currently is the group fitness manager for a gym as well as a life coach. But more important than that, he is a brother who believes in raising lions of all colors, creeds, and characters. Whether you are as young as 6 or you're as old as 66, he believes you have what it takes to be a lion in your own right. And he's going to be talking to us today about that superhuman capacity that lives within each one of us to be our own lion, to create our own communities, and to help us become the best version of ourselves. So Brenda, I'm going to ask you if you can go ahead and bring him up because my controls are trying to burn out from all that electricity.
Oh, you got it.
Let's welcome to the stage, Blaze.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. Whew. Aren't you tired of being human? Why live human when you can be superhuman? We spend all our years living human. And what do I mean by living human? Living average, monotonous, mundane, going through the motions, living this rat race of unhappiness, of frustration, trauma, negativity, limiting beliefs, chaos, and more. So for you today, I have an easy step-by-step process. 5 steps, all right? 5 steps. And these are steps that you've heard before. How easy is that? We've all heard these steps before. I can guarantee you. These steps, well, are our 5 senses. How easy is that to remember? Our 5 senses. So one by one, I'll dig into each sense. So if you have a pen and a pad, it's a great idea to grab that now. You may want to write this down. So, step 1, seeing it. Are you able to see it? See what? Are you able to see it? You see, you have to actually see your goals, to see your accomplishments, to see your achievements before it can happen. And we get caught up many times in waiting for it to happen first. Well, let me see it first. I don't really trust the process. Let me wait. Let me see it first, and then I'll believe it. No, 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 no. You have to actually see it when in the natural, it's not there. Now, many of us have different gifts, right? We all have our own unique gifts. For some may dream vivid dreams. You may dream certain dreams, and in these dreams, they may give you instructions, or they may give you warnings. Or maybe the dreams just don't make sense at the time. You see, a couple years back, I began to remember my dreams. And again, at that present time, the dreams really didn't make any sense. But I began to write those dreams down. And as I began to write those dreams down, I began to remember more of my dreams. Did you catch that? For years, I would dream. We all dream. And I would never really remember my dreams. But as I began to write my dreams down, I began to remember even more of my dreams. So seeing your goals, having that vision. Another aspect of seeing it is visualization. And this could come in many ways. For some, it may be meditation. It may be sitting down, being still, and seeing the answer, seeing those goals. For some, you can do it with your eyes open and just thinking of what exactly you want to achieve. So with this said, we're going to go through an exercise together. Not a fitness exercise. Don't get nervous. All right. But a visual exercise. So for this exercise, you can choose to close your eyes or open your eyes. This is up to you. This is going to be simple, nothing complex, nothing complicated. All right. So I'm painting the picture for you. Right now, I'd like you to think about that dream. But I have many dreams. No, 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 no. That dream that's been on your heart for some time. Think about it. Truly think about it. What does that dream, what does that vision, what does that goal feel like? Paint the picture. Think of the place. Think of where you are. What is the atmosphere? What is the temperature? Is it warm? Is it a bit cold? Are you indoors or are you outdoors? Are you by yourself or are there people around you? Are you with loved ones and family? Are you with employees, staff? Are you in front of an audience, a sea of people? Actually see it. Imagine how you would feel. Think about what you'd be wearing. Think about what time of day. Attaining this goal that's been on your head and knowing that you finally achieved it. What's going on in your head? The bliss, the joy, the sense of accomplishment. It feels real, doesn't it? It feels real because it is real. Because it's happened. It has already happened. Even if you don't see it currently with the naked eye, it has happened. You've already experienced it before. You've seen this before. For many, we look at our two eyes. Many would say that we only have 2 eyes. Others would say we have 3 eyes. Eyes are portals. And through our eyes, whether it's 1 eye, 3 eyes, or more, you can see, you can step into your future on what you want to accomplish. So step 1 are senses. You have to see it. Step 2. You have to hear it. You must hear it. You must listen. Let's take it back to maybe our childhood, right? When your parents would scold you, when you misbehaved, when you got in trouble, when you got that lecture, right, from a parent, from a family member, or even one of your teachers. And as you're getting that lecture, you're not really listening. You're not really listening. Because deep down, you feel like it wasn't your fault. It was Jacob's fault. It was Sarah's fault. It wasn't me. So you're not listening. You have a head full of reasons why it's not your fault. Reasons why you're the victim and you should not be getting in trouble right now. I sure was like that. My parents would scold me all the time and put me in my place. And I would maybe pretend that I was listening, but deep down, I wasn't listening. That information would go through one ear and out the other. So you see why it's important for us to tap into this second sense, being able to listen, because certain instructions, certain steps to get you to success, to get you to embrace being superhuman, is right within your ears. It's right within your listening range. But we don't listen. We don't make time to listen. Active listening. How do you display active listening? When someone is speaking to you and you want to show them that you're paying attention, you possess or you give out certain gestures, right? You may nod your head. You may shake your head. You may look up. You may put your hand on your chin. You may repeat what they're saying. Oh, yeah. So you're saying this. You may rephrase it. You're showing that you're listening. So if the answers are here and they're right within your range, your hearing range, make time to listen. Amidst all the noise and all the chaos and all the distractions, actually make time to listen. For the answer may come in a whisper. But if there's so much noise around you, you won't hear it. If the answer is telling you, make a right turn, don't go left, but you're distracted by your distractions, you're distracted by other people and the views of other people, the expectations of other people, your limiting beliefs, past trauma, all these other things, hustling, work, 4 jobs, 5 jobs, always on the go, you're not listening and you will miss it. So make sure you're actually hearing and listening on what your steps are, on what the process is. Step number 3. Step number 3. I'm pausing, making sure you guys are writing this down. Okay. Step number 3, speaking it, tasting it, your words. How do you speak of yourself? What words, what language? You know that famous saying, words are spells? What spells are you casting over your life? For you can see it and visualize, and you can pause and listen. But if every other word out of your mouth is cursing your journey, that's added resistance. If you spend so much time gossiping about other people, if you spend so much time with negative words, I'm broke. I'm sloppy. I'm clumsy. I'm stuck in the same cycle. I'll never get ahead. I'll never see love again. I can never trust anyone. I have trust issues. All those are upstream. All those are added resistance to what you want in life. So your words, what you speak forth into the atmosphere, must edify you, must elevate you, must be aligned with your journey. Now, we've all heard of affirmations, right? So together, we're going to say a couple. And these are basic affirmations. Of course, you can add on others. You can think of many other affirmations to say. This is just general for the context. All right? Repeat after me. I am great. I am powerful. I am courageous. I attract what's for me. My energy is contagious. Things are working out on my behalf. I have to repeat that one again. Things are working out on my behalf behind the scenes. I am walking in my purpose. I am maturing. I am growing. I love my life. I love my journey. I am happy. I have decided to be happy. I am a king. I am a queen. I am excited for what's to come. And we can go on and on. You can add on, but it must be with optimism. It must be positive. It must be bold. Speak into existence what you want to manifest. Speak it. Watch your words. Many times we don't even realize the negative words we're putting over our life. We don't realize it. It's just casual conversation. We're speaking with our family members. We're speaking with our friends. We're speaking with our coworkers. And we don't realize that us gossiping and speaking bad about our job with our coworkers, speaking negative about our managers with our coworkers, is blocking our own blessings. You're adding more resistance to your journey. So you must speak life, not death. All right, that's 3 down. Number 4. You must do it. You must touch it. You must feel it. Makes sense, right? Action. Putting forth action, putting forth legs to your desires. For you can see it. You can hear it. You can speak it. And then what? You must do it. You must do it. All the books, all the lessons, all that you have learned is useless if you don't execute, right? You must actually move forward. You must take that step forward. Now, this is a common mistake that I see all the time. Many of us are impatient, especially lately, right? In this era, in this generation, we want everything instant, right? We want everything quick, rapid, right? Rapid press, rush delivery, microwaves, instant. We want music fast. We want videos fast. We want results fast. We want a 6-pack in 6 days. That'll never happen. We want everything fast, right? We want to go out and do it. Let's do it. But doing it is not the first step. It can't be the first step. Think about an army. Think about our armed services, Navy, right? Army, Coast Guards, Air Force, all of that. Is the first thing they do going into war, going into battle? When you sign up for the armed forces, is the first thing they send you to do is to go into battle? No way. You'd get killed. You're not prepared. You're not prepared. There's basic training. There's boot camp. There are other steps you must go through prior. You must be able to see it, right? Visualize. Look for sneak attacks. Know when to hide. Know when to move. Know when to be patient. There's a process, right? So doing it is important, but doing it cannot be the first step. Doing it cannot be the first step. And we get so impatient with life, we jump ahead of God. We jump ahead of the universe. We jump ahead of the process that's necessary. So we do a whole bunch of different things. And this doesn't work. And we try this and we try that. And we just keep working and keep doing something until something works. And eventually, something may work. But why go through 8 steps? Why go through 8 failures? Why go through 25 different things and waste all that time and all that money walking in your humanness, walking in the natural? Why do all of that when you can have guidance? When you can be superhuman and tap into your superhuman and your supernatural abilities? What's more powerful than someone who knows what to do, who knows his or her purpose, who has that vision, who can see it, who can hear it? They've heard the instructions. Someone who speaks life, who's ready. Their words match their actions. Indeed. And doing those 4 steps, you are superhuman. Now, will this happen overnight? No. This is a process. These 4 steps may take you weeks. It may take you months. It may take you years. It's really up to you and your unique journey. But these steps are necessary. Now, you may be saying to yourself, but wait a minute. 1, 2, 3, 4. Isn't there a 5th one? We have 5 senses, right? Well, you forgot number 5. You forgot number 5. Well, I saved number 5 for last on purpose. Number 5. Can you smell it? There's a phrase that I say, can you smell me? Or as the Rock would say, can you smell what the Rock is cooking? Smell it. Now, smelling doesn't come automatic. And let me tell you what I mean by that. When you smell something, what do you think of? Most cases, it's a memory, right? If someone around you smells good, we often say, ooh, you smell good. You smell like roses, strawberries. Or, that doesn't smell good. That smells like the toilet or whatever it is that doesn't smell good. Trash. So in our past, we were taught and we experienced certain smells of what smelled good and what smelled bad, correct? So smelling is actually diving back into your past. Ooh. Smelling is actually diving back into your past. And sometimes you may have to go back into your past. Sometimes you may have to revisit that trauma. Sometimes you may have to go back to when you felt uncomfortable, whether it be childhood, whether it be a past relationship. Now, I'm not saying go back to your past and stay there. No, no, no. I'm not saying live in your past. No, no, no. I'm saying you may have to revisit that memory. You may have to smell it for a time, for a season, to learn from it, to change the outcome from it, to actually decipher what you've learned from it in order to move forward. Because you've done step 4, you're already moving, you're putting forth legs, you're using that action. Now, for added guidance, you may have to go back briefly to your past in order to properly execute. These, my friends, allow us to be superhuman. And the thing is, we were already made superhuman. We came to this earth superhuman. These are just reminders. These are not even instructions. These are just reminders of the power that's already in you. The power that's already in you and you and you, the power that we possess, the answers to our problems and our challenges that have been here this whole time. These are just reminders of how to tap into the power that's within. Being able to see it, being able to listen for it, being able to speak it, being able to touch it, do it, feel it, and being able to smell it. Superhuman is what this world needs. Not a bunch of average people blending into the crowd. Be superhuman. Tap into your original, authentic self and blow the socks off of anyone or any obstacle in your path.
I love it. I love it. I love it. Give it up for Blaze Daktari. Great, great presentation. Reminding us, I really love how you just let us know that the superhuman power was already inside of us. And sometimes we just have to be reminded to tap into that. And as we talk about becoming the best version of you, sometimes becoming the best version of you just requires us to realize that we have everything we need to be that best version of ours. Wouldn't you agree with that, Brenda? You're muted, Brenda.
There we go. I do agree with that because sometimes you have to go backwards to see why you need to move forward.
Yeah, absolutely. But he made an important point. As you revisit it, you can go back to your past, but don't stay there because you are already in action of moving forward. And sometimes this popular phrase is sometimes you take 2 steps back to take 1 step forward. Whereas we talked about with Jonah earlier when we were talking about be your own banker, sometimes you have to take a step back in order to keep moving forward, and that compounds your interest. We didn't say take 2 steps back and stop. We said take 2 steps back, revisit your past, revisit the lessons that you learned from that past, and then continue to move forward. When you look at Blaze's tagline, I raise lions. Well, sometimes your parents, sometimes the lion has to push the cub back 2 steps, push them back from that ledge because they're so eager to jump, but they don't know what's on the other side. Push them back into the forest because they see their prey, but they don't see the other prey that's out there looking for them. Sometimes we have to take those 2 steps back in order to really see the full landscape so that we can move from being a cub, still learning things, into that lion that has engaged all of their senses, and now they're prepared to rule the jungle and be the king or queen of their castles, as Brenda loves to say.
Yeah, made me want to go get my crown and I didn't have it today.
Well, the beautiful thing about your crown, Brenda, is you always wear it. It's just you don't have to go get it because you're always wearing it.
Just it is a symbol of ruling. That's right.
Blaze, we appreciate you coming on our Mastermind series today. And how can they get in contact with you if they want to learn more about how they can tap into this 5 senses that God already gave them and have that superhuman lifestyle that they were created to live.
Sure, sure, absolutely. All you have to do is roar. Roar! And I'll hear you.
Roar!
With technology, however, there are other ways that you can contact me. Simple, right behind me, iraiselions.com. We all have that inner lion within us. iraiselions.com. And as many know me on Instagram as Blaze the Lion, lots of motivation there. Just me being myself, not preaching at anyone, but just sharing on this journey of life. And I fuse fitness, as I've been a personal trainer and instructor for nearly 2 decades, with walking in your purpose. So both of those to me is wellness, your physical fitness and your mental and spiritual fitness fused together, moving into your purpose.
That's very true, and it all goes together because you said fused together. You know, one thing I have to realize, because I have a past that most people would view as something that many couldn't overcome, but I have to reevaluate why my past is the way it was. I have to reevaluate how I move forward. And when I say reevaluate, so I can always stay in the evaluation mode of how to continuously become better. And by doing that, you know, it's a mindset, and you have to fuse all of that together because your physical and your mental health is so important. And I'm going to tell you, it's more important than any job you have. It's more important than anything that you have, your finances, any of that, because without it, you really got nothing. It doesn't matter how much money you make if your health is deteriorated, and mentally or physically, if you don't. And I've been there too. I had cancer in 2011, and let me tell you, money can't fix it. Money can't fix it, and illnesses does not discriminate. It doesn't pick and choose. It goes after. So in order to stay physically fit, you have to take care of yourself. In order to stay mentally fit, you have to feed your mind.
Yeah, absolutely.
I love it, and I love how you just make it so simple, and how you reminded us to see it, and then to hear it, and then to speak it and taste it. And I really love that last part, taste it, because we're really quick to let things out of our mouth, but sometimes we're a little bit slow on letting the flavor savor in our mouth, the flavor of success, the flavor of achievement, the flavor of learning a lesson that maybe we didn't learn before. So actually tasting success. You know, when I was growing up, I didn't understand what tasting success meant. How do you taste success? Is that something you get in the grocery store? Is it in the aisle with the ice cream? No, but it's that spiritual tasting. Taste and see that it is good to be successful. Taste and see how it feels to be inspiring someone else. Taste and see how good it feels to know that your words have made the difference in the lives of maybe one or maybe 1,000, just because you decided to tap into the senses that God had already gave you. Having that ability to do it, to touch it, and to feel it, and to you really took us home when you talked about smelling it. You know, do you smell me? I'm gonna give you credit for that 3 times, Blaze, and then that's gonna be mine. I will make sure I put on deodorant before I say it, because, you know, I don't want the words to get distracted by, you know, all those other things. But you made it so simple, and I appreciate that. And you guys, if you want to learn more about what Blaze does, go on over to his website, iraiselions.com. If you want to get the full perspective of what wellness is all about, then you definitely want to check out Blaze and the things he's doing. And we're hoping, Brenda, we're really hoping and wishing that maybe, possibly, our fans and our family can see Blaze live and in person at the end of August.
Yes. That would be amazing. He hasn't committed yet, so we're kind of twisting the arm a little bit.
Kind of some public twisting, but that's how Cubs become Lions. You got to throw them out there. So if you want to experience more of Blaze in person, then go on over to his website and say, come on over to Kansas City, August 25th through the 27th to get the Blaze.Tari experience and learn how you can become a lion too, just using the 5 senses, the 5 superhuman senses that, guess what, you already have inside of you.
Mhm.
Thanks, Blaze. We appreciate you. Again, thank you for taking some time out to be here on the BTBY Monthly Mastermind Experience. Look, someone in the Facebook is roaring in your honor.
It works. It works.
It works. It works. Thank you so much. Again, let's go visit Blaze at his website, IRaiseLions.com, or you can check him out on all social media under IRaiseLions. You can even email him at IRaiseLions@gmail.com. Thank you so much, Blaze.
Thank you for having me.
All righty. There we go. That was a wrap. We appreciate you. That has been our time today. Again, you can check out Blaze over at IRaiseLions.com. We want to shout out all of our speakers today, Coffee Cup Chuck, Rich Steffens, Jonah Dew, and Brandon Shank, who started us off. Great mastermind notes. I ran out of ink in my pen again because of everything that we learned today. And looks like we had some audience members. John Claude Beyond said, so true and words to live by in terms of Blaze's presentation. Max Inspired, gotta love that name. He said Blaze gave us some great reminders. Star Child Social gave a round of applause. We had some other people throughout the day that was coming through. We had some great tips. One Facebook user said, it's me. I'm the one who has to get it done. Absolutely. You have to do it. What are you going to do? I keep my expectations high for me and run with those who have the same for themselves. Kind of goes like running in that pack of lions. If you've got high expectations, you got to run with people who have those high expectations as well. How was this for you today, Brenda?
It was good. I'm very proud of our speakers that have taken our class and doing it. They're getting out there. They're making things happen. And that's with anything. That's part of what becoming the best you is taking that next step. We often tend to get stuck. We stay put because we're afraid. We let fear immobilize us. We care about what other people think just a little bit too much that stops us dead in our tracks from grabbing the life that we want. And if you do that, you're going to always be stuck. Always be stuck.
Absolutely. Well, you guys, that is a wrap. We want to thank some of our sponsors. We've got a couple of sponsors that are going to be with us throughout this show, as well as some of our other shows. And we're going to play some of the commercials as we go out today. We want to give a big shout out to Big Bob Carpets in Kansas City, doing great things, working with the phenomenal Brenda Ringwood to expand his brand and also to help us expand the BTBY brand. And our digital magazine partner, She Exists Pro. We want to thank Janelle Harris for all the things that she's doing, and you'll get a chance to see her and possibly be a part of an upcoming issue of the magazine. You can reach out to us and get more information, or you can go on over to sheexistsmag.com. But hey, we'll be back next month with another BTBY Presents monthly mastermind series. So make sure you stick and stay with us. Go on over to our website, comechangeyourlife.com, where you can get information on the event that is coming up in Kansas City. Rich will be there, so why not you? Come on through. August 25th through the 27th. Get your tickets now at comechangeyourlife.com. Comechangeyourlife.com. You've got the t-shirt. We've got the logo right here. If I can look, it's somewhere on this shirt. But you can come get our merchandise. You can come get some information from all of our phenomenal speakers. You can also be a part of our mastermind groups that's going to be happening live and in person in panels as well as breakout groups during that weekend. So there's something for everyone that's going to be happening on August 25th through the 27th. So come on through, go on over to comechangeyourlife.com. So, Brent, I'm going to give you the final say before we get out of the way and let people enjoy the rest of their Memorial Day weekend activities.
That's right. You know, Memorial Day is about remembering our loved ones that have passed on. But it's also more than that, because those loved ones have also been part of your life that's still living today. So keep that in mind. There is a piece of them with you going forward. And what a great way to memorialize that, especially if they were a great influence in your life. I have a grandmother that died when I was 7, but the way that she loved and didn't judge was something that everybody should learn how to do. You know, love is the most important commandment. And what if our currency in the world could be love? What a great place it would be.
Yeah. You know, Jonah talked earlier about being your own banker. What if you could deposit infinite amounts of love into your own bank and then have other people come and make withdrawals from your bank? So not only are you depositing love, but you're giving away love. And I think that's the best way to be of service as you become the best version of you. Because someone told me that service is the rent that we pay for being here. So you might as well, if you pay your rent every month, you might as well be of service each and every month as well.
That's right.
All right, you guys, for Brenda Ringwood, I am Terrence, the Unstoppable Coach Leffers, and this has been the BTBY Monthly Mastermind Series. And wherever you are in the world today, you know what I say. Don't just make it a great day. Go out and practice being the best version of you and make it an unstoppable day. We'll see you next time.
She Exists magazine, one of America's fastest growing publications, the best in travel, fashion, food, and entertainment from around the world. Check out our first edition of He Exists magazine. Looking for an ad space or feature? Contact us for your next one. She Exists magazine, digital publication coming soon. Subscribe today.